Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I am Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
And could I choose the title of this one?
All right.
I'm going to call it the Sunburn Special. So, because I have to apologize immediately because I got sunburned today, and when I get sunburned, I get a cold and a runny nose, so I'm going to be extra disgusting sounding more than likely. So, but I got a box of tissues, so
Nice.
life goes on.
Prepared.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, do you guys want to talk about anything you've watched lately, like in the past 3 weeks? I think it was 4 weeks, something like that. I don't know. We haven't done this for a few weeks, so
It's been a bit, yeah.
kind of getting back into the swing of it. But yeah, anything you want to talk about?
Saw the new Suicide Squad.
Yeah, me too.
I've been meaning to see it. I just keep putting it off and off and off.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, James Gunn, right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see
yeah.
it. Maybe after the record, I'll throw it on.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was, although one thing that was kind of strange about it was like I feel like James Gunn got really used to like filming. He got used to the Disney money, so to speak. And so Guardians of the Galaxy, it was like an epic, you know, like the way it was shot and framed and everything. There was so much to look at, you know, but it made sense because it was in space and it was a science fiction movie. This movie is shot the exact same way as that, which is cool because, and it's certainly preferable to the way the first film was shot, which was mostly a lot of close-ups and Dutch angles, and it kind of made it hard to sort of get a feel of the environments that the characters were, you know, doing their stuff in. But this movie did a better job of actually showing kind of everything that was going on. It actually did a little bit too good a job because there were moments where the characters looked really small, but I still loved it. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was great. Way better than the other one.
That's not hard though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think like he went for like kind of a war movie style. That's what I got from it. The vibes I got from it.
Yeah, pretty much exactly my thoughts too. Yeah, James Gunn directs a war movie, essentially. You know, so picture that.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, if there's any flaw with this movie, honestly, it has more to do with the fact that it's connected to the first film, like because it kind of.
It's not like I thought it's not a reboot or anything. I wasn't sure.
Loose, very loose.
I mean,
I think
Margot Robbie's still in it, so. But
that's the thing. It does the best it can to be a reboot, but you still have Margot Robbie. You still have, you know, the Viola Davis character, who actually I kind of liked what they did with her character in this movie because, like, I felt like the first film was sort of okay. One of the things that pissed me off about the first film is it sort of felt almost like she was the main character in it. Like,
I thought she was the best part of the first film.
Yeah. And with this movie, they kind of like her character is still in it, but they kind of do the opposite. Now in this movie, she's kind of the villain. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's actually pretty interesting, honestly. I really liked it quite a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Nice.
Should I talk about what I sort of watched recently, or it was it's kind of one that I sort of want to sort of quickly talk about. I watched that movie Pig.
Oh shit, I want to see that so bad.
Yeah.
Is it streaming anywhere yet?
Well, I saw it with a friend, and I'm not sure what we watched it on. I think it's available. I don't know if it's available for free anywhere. I don't think it is because it's in theaters. But
yeah, I tried to like look it up day one when it was released, but it was only in theaters, so I don't know if it's out and streaming yet anywhere.
It came out on streaming, but
okay.
I don't remember if I might have been Amazon. I don't know. It was like I said, I watched it with a friend. And you know, I actually really liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. Definitely one of Nicolas Cage's more like emotive performances. And I certainly would recommend it, but I should sort of also say that, like, so have you guys seen the trailer for it?
I don't think I have actually.
I'm not sure. I know what it is about, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, don't watch the trailer for it, please, because it
Okay.
totally like missells the whole movie. It sort of makes it look like a John Wick type of picture,
Right.
where
Right.
Nicolas Cage just goes like he's like, oh, and just kills everybody and all that stuff. Like, it kind of makes it look like it's sort of leaning toward that. It's not that kind of movie.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I've
actually,
heard. Actually, yeah.
yeah. Actually, what have you guys heard about it overall? That it was good,
I
mostly.
heard, yeah, that it was really good, and they said, yeah, the trailer makes it look like John Wick, but it isn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just keep hearing that Nick Cage just great performance.
Yeah.
it's worth seeing for Nicolas Cage's performance for sure. It's totally not like a John Wick type of movie in the least. The trailer is just a pack of lies. It's really more of like a contemplative, almost character study. I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much of it. I do have some issues with the structure of it, just some slight issues, but overall I thought it was a really like good movie, and I would recommend. It kind of reminded me of Mandy, which I know you weren't really a fan of, Zach, but it sort of had a similar kind of contemplative feel as that one, if that makes sense. So I would sort of kind of get a little bit more prepared for that type of thing, rather than like a movie where Nicolas Cage just goes berserk and acts like a crazy asshole for, I mean, he does do that technically, but it's not the typical type of Nick Cage movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know if because it's been a little while since we've recorded. I don't know if I've talked about A Quiet Place Part 2 I saw.
Oh yeah. And you like that?
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. Did you guys see that one yet?
Not yet.
I haven't either. I like the first one though.
It's just as good, if not better. John Krasinski's one, like him and like Jordan Peele, they're, you know, breaking out of that comedy and making those good horrors. It's pretty surprising.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. I mean, I'm glad, because the first film was really like, I mean, I know that there are a couple issues with the ending that some people have, but I mean, I think that I found it pretty scary, for the most part. You know, it wasn't as scary as people like hyped it up to be, but I still found it pretty scary.
I love the first one, and this one was good. Like the first, I don't know, 20-30 minutes is like a prequel of how they, like the first day of the invasion, and then the rest of the movie, like the good chunk of it, is basically picking up right exactly where the first one left off, and then having to, you know, move on because their house gets fucked up or something, or like, you know, from the last one. So you know, gotta go find a new spot to chill, and then shit happens, and yeah, it's real good. Yeah, and Cillian Murphy is amazing in it too. He's, you know, the other main character.
Oh man, I haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah, and the kids are phenomenal in it as well. And there's like the scenes where you are in the deaf girl's perspective, and it's friggin' awesome.
Wow. Yeah, actually, I thought the child actors were pretty strong in the first film. So
yeah, and this one they're really great. Yeah.
Cool. And you've seen the first one, Zach?
Yeah, I've seen the first one. I really liked it.
Yeah, this one's could be better, and I mean, it's hard to tell. I'd have to rewatch them probably back to back to compare them, because I haven't seen the first one in a while. But yeah, this one's awesome. And I saw this one at a drive-in too. That was fun. Haven't been to the drive-in since I was like a little kid.
I saw Toy Story 4 at the drive-in. That was actually pretty fun, I gotta admit.
Yeah.
I feel like Toy Story 4 is like the perfect drive-in movie because you don't really expect a lot from it because it's like, oh, how do you top the third one? But it's still like enjoyable enough that you don't have to pay a lot of attention to it, which it's hard.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to do that at a drive-in, you know.
I'd say
Unless
this
you have
one.
speakers.
Right, I'd say this one isn't necessarily as good as a drive-in movie because a lot of it is about the sound design, and you're using like either your car speakers or the little boxes they have at the wherever you park or whatever. So
yeah,
probably would want to watch it like with a nice pair of headphones or something on, but it was a fun experience still either way.
yeah. Well, I gotta find my headphones. Somebody bought me AirPods and then I lost them. It's
shit.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like first they stopped working and then I got them to work and I got really hyped up and then I went somewhere and then came back and I couldn't find them anywhere. So I don't know. I'm really bad when it comes to losing stuff. I hate to admit, but anyway. So anything else, or it's kind of summarizes it overall?
Yeah, that's about all I got.
Same. Oh,
Yep.
I did watch. Oh, actually, because I don't know. This might be interesting news to you, Zach. So I watched the new Blood for Dracula, the 4K release. I actually saw it in 4K, and it looked pretty amazing, actually.
I got mine in. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's interesting because it was actually really cool to rewatch because there was a lot of like certain aspects of it I didn't remember, but
It's a Dracula movie.
yeah, it was made in the 70s. It's like an erotic Dracula movie. Actually, it's pretty interesting because so most Dracula movies kind of portray Dracula as being sort of like a really evil, powerful figure, and this movie does the total opposite. Like this movie actually depicts Dracula as being like really pathetic and weak and unable to withstand like anything. He can't be in sunlight. It really emphasizes the issues with being a vampire. And actually this movie does something even more like horrible in that he can suck blood and turn people into vampires, but the only blood that actually like restores him is virgin blood. And he lives in Romania, and he has this assistant who's basically doing everything for him and has been the one who's been keeping him alive, but he can barely like stay alive anymore because they're having like a harder and harder time finding virgins. So they decide to move to it was filmed in Italy, but they decide to move to Romania, or maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. There was a lot going on in this movie, but they moved there to try and find under the sort of pretense that they're trying to find a bride for Dracula, but in reality, he's like a vampire who's literally like withering away and can barely even like hold it together, and is like constantly choking and puking, and he's just in the shittiest shape you can imagine, basically. And I don't want to go into what happens, but it becomes pretty. It's actually a comedy in a weird way, it's like a really, really dark comedy where it just kind of becomes so pathetic that you can't help but laugh. And there's just great dialogue in it. Like, I think the line that everybody remembers is, "The blood of these whores is killing me," because all these women like keep pretending that they're virgins, but they're not actually virgins, and so that he tries to suck their blood, and he ends up experiencing like horrible symptoms where he's just vomiting and puking everywhere. It's hilarious and crazy.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I mean, I love anything vampire, so
yeah. All right. Well, I have the DVD of it somewhere, so I can send it to you if you want. I mean, it's not as good in good quality as the Blu-ray, but it's still it looked pretty awesome for a DVD. So
okay.
But on the 4K, you can really get like a good sight of Joe D'Alessandro's ass. He spends half the movie naked, and he's got zits like nobody's business, and it's incredible. Like 4K is like my favorite format now, just based on the fact that I could just so clearly see the zits on his ass. It's amazing, you know.
Okay.
I'm probably the only person who cares about that shit. But
That's awesome.
still, I mean, whatever.
That's great. No, that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, good movie. So, all right, let's jump into it. Talk about your movie, Zach.
Yeah, I chose A Little Bigfoot
Yes.
because I had a VHS laying around.
Oh,
Excellent.
did you watch that on VHS?
No, I kept it sealed. I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's how I saw it too.
Yeah. I can imagine this movie probably looked probably better on VHS, actually, because you didn't really have to focus on the details.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I've seen this before or if it's just the generic plot of a family movie.
I think it's that, because I felt the same way.
Yeah, I must admit I did too. The plot felt very familiar. I guess I want to say borrowed, but it feels more like just replicated. Pretty much the whole plot of like E.T. and stuff like that. Like, yeah. But is there a plot summary that you would like to read? Or
There's one sentence on Wikipedia.
oh, okay.
I guess I'll read it.
Go for it.
A boy and his sister engage in an adventure to save a baby Bigfoot and his family from a logging company. A majority of the movie is loggers cutting down trees.
I mean, that pretty much summarizes it. Yeah. There's not
Does.
much else to say, really.
Not really. Like, I thought this was going to be a lot more campy, and it's like a straight 90s family movie.
Yeah, I was thinking like Mac and Me level type stuff, but
Yeah. And
Was
like, go ahead.
I said it was a passable film.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And there was not a lot of Bigfoot for a movie called Little Bigfoot. It was more about the evil logging company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was probably the most disappointing part, actually, was just how little it had to do with the actual like Bigfoot. Like, it was kind of like, darn, you know, like there was an opportunity there, but
especially when it looks as weird as Little Bigfoot looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the best costuming, but although not the worst either, I must
Yeah.
admit. At least there was some emoting. Like,
Yeah, it had a nice little animatronic head.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I think my biggest problem is that you could kind of tell when it was like not, when it was just like a person in costume and animatronic. Like, there was a pretty sharp difference between the two. It felt like it wasn't distractingly bad, but it was just a little bit like,
Oh yeah, I definitely noticed it too.
yeah. It looked like kind of more like a kid size person at times, and then other times it looked like a realistic kind of creature that, you know, moved around a lot and kind of expressed itself. So, but I don't know, it was still, I guess it was pretty good for the budget. I mean I'm guessing this was a low budget movie.
Yeah, I assume so. Let's see if there's a nope. Doesn't show that information.
Yeah. All right. Well, it felt like it had a low budget. So.
Oh, definitely. It was like made for TV almost, but definitely straight to video.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would assume so. Like, it has the kid from Toothless, which was that really dumb Kirstie Alley movie they used to show on the Disney Channel, where
Is
she
that
plays
where
the
I've
Tooth
seen
Fairy.
it?
I think that might be. Oh, he was also in Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay, he looked so familiar.
Yeah, he's been in a few things. I can't remember what his name is, like Billy John or something like that. I don't even know.
Ross Malinger.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the IMDb. I was trying to figure out who was in the Little Bigfoot costume.
Oh, did you find an answer?
No, not really.
Uh,
I'm looking because it's way down. I don't know why he's not like way up top, Bill. Oh, Joseph S. Griffo, I guess.
Okay, what's his deal? Like, does he just like to dress up in little Bigfoot costumes, or
Because
is
I
he
was
like a
wondering if it
stuntman?
was a little. He is okay. It is a little person.
Okay,
I think that's the correct term, right?
all right,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't sure if it was a little.
Oh shit! He was a Jawa in the Mandalorian.
Oh, there you go. All right, so he's
Step up.
Still working.
that's excellent. All right, good for him. Well, he didn't do bad. He didn't do a bad job in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in Argo too.
Oh, excellent. Well, there you go. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Still
Um,
going.
Let's see. The kids don't get along.
Oh
Actually, this
yeah,
kind
they
of
were
movie.
awful kids.
Yeah, they're a pain
Yeah,
in the ass.
actually, this movie kind of reminded me of oh shoot, the Quadler or Quadler or Quadler, whatever that Gary Busey movie was where he plays
Quigley?
Quigley. Okay, whoops. Yeah, okay, so I was way off. This movie kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Quagley. It reminded me of that a little bit. Not so much in the way it was structured, but just kind of the dynamic of the family sort of reminded me of them. Like two kids arguing. The mom's like, "Oh, hush now," like, "Be quiet, you." Like stereotypical mom doing the usual, like trying to get her kids to stop talking.
And the thing I found just striking at the very beginning was the explanation of them having no dad. They just kind of said it in one line, and then
that
like
was quite a.
and the little girl was like, "Daddy's not coming back, is he?" And mom was like, "Nope, nope." And then they just next scene.
Yeah.
It was a pretty heavy-handed exposition dump, I will admit, but
Yeah.
you got to work with something, I guess.
Yeah. Should point out that the mom was played by PJ Souls too. Taking a break from horror, I guess.
Maybe she thought this was a horror movie.
Maybe.
I will admit, I actually did enjoy the logging footage, and I know that sounds stupid to say, but like I've always been really into like moving machines and steamrollers and dump trucks and like wrecking balls and stuff like that. I've always really loved that stuff, and I've loved seeing that stuff. Oh god, that was a bad one. And so but seeing like people sawing logs and stuff, like, I mean, I sometimes see it in movies, but I don't see it that often. And I gotta admit, it is kind of an interesting process. I mean, I understand this movie was kind of aiming for a pro-environmental message, which I felt like it could have done a better job at sort of emphasizing what it was trying to get to the point of. But overall, like, I admire the goodwill of it. And so to kind of have that message combined with the logging footage, which I personally found exquisite. I mean, I enjoyed that a lot. And it kind of it made me smile. I was into it. I even rewound that one moment where that one dude was like kind of standing there, like, I don't know how to describe it, but he was he was like he had like a weird posture. He was like posing while like cutting the log and stuff. Like I thought that was kind of cool,
Yeah.
And so like
one shot of logging that stood out to me was like it was a Dutch angle from like way under. And like the wood chips were just falling on the camera, and it was a nice, that's
another one I really like. Yeah, like I mean, it actually, if my biggest complaint was that there wasn't enough of that, like, because okay, so if a movie's doing something right, it's got to stick with it. So have you guys ever see Phase 4?
No.
You got to see Phase 4. It's brilliant. It's about ants. It's about like killer ants, and I think it's kind of a low budget movie. It was directed by Saul Bass, who I think has a connection to Roald Dahl, but I'm not positive. Anyway, I'll think about that later. He films these scenes, these really intensely microscopic scenes with these ants, and he makes these ants do everything. It's crazy. And so like
real ants or like
actual ants, yeah. And so that movie actually like displayed some really unique film, like things that I don't see in movies very often. And so like when I see a movie like this where, you know, there's a lot of some might argue excessive log footage, I can't help but appreciate it because it actually is pretty well shot. And you know, I dig the style of it. I like watching men work. Yeah, it was a really, those scenes were really enjoyable. The movie itself was pretty silly. You know, it's like, okay, you got this Sasquatch character, and then you got this little dude who, I don't know, like at one point, like, I don't know, the parent didn't even do anything. The parent of this little junior Sasquatch Bigfoot character, kind of, what did they like get lost or something? Like, what even happened to them? You know, they tripped, I think.
They got shot.
Yeah, okay, that was
the
it.
mama Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was shot in the cave, and then she just like chilled in the cave the whole time because she was injured.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. But like something happened to them later.
They
But that's how
eventually
the movie
were.
starts off, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
They're eventually running out, and then she hid behind a log, and then
Okay.
yeah.
Fell into the log.
Yeah. It's a lot of distraction from these kids. They had a distraction plan many times.
Yeah, that's kind of all their plans were, really, like for the most part.
Yeah.
But it was funny to see them try to save this baby Bigfoot, who for the most part is pretty doomed until the end. Like, it, you know, on a darkly comedic level, it's almost funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call this a good kids movie, but go on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, everyone kept thinking it was a bear as well, other than the two kids, and then the guy at the end.
Yeah.
He literally puts a gun to his head. I mean, like, there's no other way to describe it. Like, that it's not a kids movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of actual guns for the kids movie. Like, there was a chase scene with the environmentalist girl and the loggers. They were just shooting a shotgun at her. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, there was like 4 chase scenes or something.
Oh, there was a lot of chase scenes. Yeah. Something kids movies must like, or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even against like the use of guns in kids movies. Like, if it's done well, and it's not like trying to like say anything profound or anything like the type of thing that would go over a kid's head, then I'm okay with it. Like, I think Bambi is a good example of, you know, gun violence done right in a kids movie. And also like the Iron Giant, I guess it's maybe like the deer thing. I mean, I think both of those films do a good job of like being ambiguous about like the concept of what it means to hunt, and so like something like that works.
Yeah.
But this movie was way heavy-handed.
What about in a similar movie, E.T. replacing the guns with the walkie-talkies?
Yeah, even Steven Spielberg like regrets that. Like,
yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah, it was because everybody was really upset over, you know, what happened on September 11th. But
is that why they changed it?
I think so. It had something to do with that. They also changed a line of dialogue in the movie too, because I remember, because there's a scene in the original version where Dee Wallace she's like yelling at her kids like she does throughout like half the movie, and at one point she says like, no, you're not going out on Halloween as a terrorist, right? But
I mean, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I don't remember that at all. Shit.
Yeah, it's like a line you don't even remember. Excuse me, but in the CGI enhanced CGI quote unquote enhanced version that came out in 2001, she said the line is changed from "you're not going as a terrorist" to "you're not going as a hippie." Like, for some reason that was like something they had to change because it was like too much. I just don't understand it. And like I said, Steven Spielberg, like he's openly talked about how much he didn't like making those changes. So like, if he doesn't even agree with it, then I think it's fine to say those changes ruin the movie.
He must have been forced to change it then, I'm assuming.
I think so, because like the film was being remastered, because it hadn't been remastered, you know, since it had come out, which was like people were getting freaked out about, because, you know, original masters deteriorate. So, But then, like, for whatever reason, even though like the original master was still like retained, they made him change the film for theatrical reasons, like because September, like what happened in September, like it's everybody was really hypersensitive and going through a lot of like distress, and so then the studio, I think it was Universal, I don't even remember, was like, okay, you gotta alter it, you know, just and honestly, like I don't even think people have, I'm not even sure if that cut is available anymore, because it pretty much ever since it's been re-released, they just went with the original cut. So that pretty much says everything.
Yeah.
But back to wait, what's it called? Bigfoot? No, Little Bigfoot.
Little
All right.
Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's horrible.
I mean, that would be a suitable title. Bigfoot Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, which I'm excited to kind of say, because I've been sorting out stuff and, you know, putting stuff in boxes to sell, and I found one of my 8 movie packs has the sequel to this movie on it, the Bigfoot 2. Yeah, Little Bigfoot 2, The Journey Continues or something like that. I don't even remember, but I forget the title, but I want to see it. Like, I'm stoked to watch it, honestly. I didn't even know it existed, and I saw it. I did a spit take. I'm like, what?
Nice.
Yeah.
It was like the day after I watched this.
What a coincidence. Shit.
Yeah.
Apparently Little Bigfoot is a loose sequel to another movie called Bigfoot: The Unforgettable Encounter.
I did notice a story by credit and then a screenplay credit from 2 different people, so
yeah, I did too.
I assumed it's probably a make of something else that they adapted. Ish.
Now I gotta get all of them now.
Damn.
Yeah, we got to complete the trilogy. Well, it wasn't good, but I'll give it credit for being at least watchable, I guess, and I'll give it credit for its message and its logging footage, and the fact that I still enjoyed it and didn't feel that bored by it, even though the plot was wicked familiar and boring and stupid and dumb and didn't make any real sense, to be honest. Like,
a few plot holes as well.
Yeah, we got to talk about the ending a little bit, but we'll get to that. Plot holes, yeah.
So one thing there was a plot hole that I wrote down was they were trying to, get evidence on the loggers because that's what they needed to take them down.
Cutting down endangered trees or something.
Yep. And endangering wildlife. They find a picture, they find a dead bear and take a picture, but I don't know, why didn't they take a picture of little Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The kids were hanging out with them a bunch, and then the same kind of plot hole was little Bigfoot was like followed them all the way home to where like the mom was dinnering with the cop. And little Bigfoot wanted to go in, or it seemed they had to shoo him away. Why didn't they just show him to the adults? That would have like ended the movie, I guess. But
I guess actually. Yeah, they needed to keep the plot going somehow, so they just had the characters do dumb shit for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like that type of movie. Like, let's figure out what these kids could do in the meantime while nothing's going on. And then there's some chase scenes, there's some action scenes, like, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of the movie. Although a lot of that kind of seemed contrived, I guess, but whatever. I mean, I guess I expect that much at that point.
One of the chase scenes relatable to our next movie is a kid driving around. He was a good driver. I'll say for that chase scene, he was driving in. I was like, shit, he's like drifting around these dirt trails. Like, because there was a joke or a thing earlier where like the big older brother was going to take him into town to, let his mom go on that date with a cop. And he was like, let me drive. And foreshadowing. There you go.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And although one thing I will say is that like, yeah, he was definitely he drove better than any of the characters in Makami did.
He drove better than most of the loggers.
Yeah. Yeah, I will admit. And by the way, I don't think those loggers were actors. I think they were actual loggers because they were like the worst actors in the whole movie.
Yeah. And
I mean,
like,
everybody didn't act. Oh, what was that?
There's one guy, the guy with like that weird eye.
mm-hmm.
He's been in a couple things. Like he was in Wild America.
Okay.
As the crazy guy at the swamp. That's the only thing I've recognized in it.
Okay.
There's a guy with the eye patch too.
Yeah.
Must be a lot of eye accidents in the logging business.
I guess so.
Splinters and stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably. Well, but yeah, I mean the chase scenes were at least competent. I mean, even though not much happened in them.
Yeah. Guess you gotta add chase scenes to kids' movies for some action.
Yeah. Which, you know, again, it was kind of just a way of stretching this plot out, which could have been resolved in 5 minutes, but oh well.
Yep.
I don't know. Is there even anything else to say about it, really? Or
I liked how they called him Bilbo.
okay, yeah.
Because they were reading The Hobbit on the drive up to their, you know, vacation home or whatever. Not like they're renting out a cabin, but yeah, they were reading the Hobbit.
Although it looked like something else. Like I don't know. To me, it looked like a different book than The Hobbit.
It was a picture book for one.
Yeah,
it definitely like said The Hobbit, and they called them Hobbits and Bilbo. So
yeah, okay, yeah. Maybe I don't know.
Probably it definitely wasn't The Hobbit for sure because it was a picture book.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember what yeah, I mean it was supposed to be like The Hobbit, but I'm trying to remember what the title was that was on the book.
I think it did say The Hobbit, on the book, and
yeah, or maybe it was just or maybe it was called Hobbit. I mean, I know they kept on calling him a Hobbit and they kept on referring to The Hobbit, but I don't know. I mean, it gets confusing with these rights issues, you know? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to tell if they're saying the title or if they're referring to hobbits as, you know, mythical creatures or whatever. Like, I don't know, but whatever.
But I mean, if you call a hobbit Bilbo, you gotta wonder.
Yeah. And I actually, speaking of hobbits, and I know this is kind of completely unrelated to hobbits, but there's a movie that I kind of want to watch on this show at some point called what's it called? The Adventures of a Gnome named Gnorm.
Yeah,
I've heard of that one. I heard of it.
I've heard of it.
It's directed by Stan Winston. I want to watch that on this show sometime, but I don't think this episode is the episode. So because I watched it with some friends and I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it. So I might need to give it a rewatch, but we'll talk about that another day. Anyway, so back to Little Bigfoot. Okay, so they do their shit, they escape, but then the Bigfoot guy, he gets caught in a bear trap because the kid tries to get him to leave, which was a really
so cheesy.
That was an unusually
cliche
melodramatic scene.
Cliche. They do that in like what? I forget those dog movies. You like family dog movies. Like, get out of here! I hate you.
Get out of here! I hate you.
Pretty sure I did that in Harry and the Hendersons too, another Bigfoot movie.
Yeah.
They make they did do that, didn't they? Yeah.
I remember that.
And I was watching. I was watching New Girl too, and they make a joke of that. Like one of the characters does it. They call it white wolfing. I guess it's from like a novel called White Wolf, and he's like, like the character was like, "Get out of here!" to the girl he likes. "Get out of here! Get out of here! I hate you! Get out of here!" And she was just like, "Are you trying to white wolf me?"
So fucking funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like, I don't know. Like, but what was weird about it was it felt like it happened a little too early in the movie. Like, it felt like it was I mean, there hadn't even been that much of a bond between them at that point. It just
Or
kinda,
at all.
really, it was mostly the kid trying to just do it, like figure out a way to maneuver around the adults, so to speak. You know, that was pretty much it. And so then he like randomly starts yelling at Bigfoot or Little Bigfoot, and is like, "I hate you!" And it's like, oh my gosh,
Chucked rocks at it and shit. Yeah.
yeah, which I thought that was a little overkill. It's like, all right, yeah, you can weed them off. You don't need to throw rocks at him. That's just too mean, you know. Like this Bigfoot already like watched his mom get shot. Like you don't need. It's like, come on, dude. Like, calm down. But whatever. I mean, the kid was kind of a little dipshit anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, I assume he was written that way, though. I mean, he kind of redeemed himself in the end, and like, I mean, everybody learns a lesson. Everybody does the right thing, except for the villain, which of course is expected.
And I wrote down, you know, there's in the beginning, there was that one, you know, good guy logger who is like, I can't do this. And then he gets fired. And in the last scene, he comes back and is like, yeah, and saves the day type shit. Like,
Yeah,
we have this evidence and a witness, and then he shows up. I was like,
that was
because I was wondering, is he gonna come back ever? Because it seemed like, you know, oh, this guy's might be important later when he stood up to the bad guy, and 90% through the movie, I was like, maybe he's not gonna come back. And then 98% through the movie, he's like, oh, there he is.
That's true. Yeah. Is there anything else? I mean, I don't know. Like,
I got nothing else.
he gets caught in a bear trap. And that's about it, really. I mean, he does get rescued. Things work out for the most part. I'm eager to watch the sequel.
There's the reveal at the end that the cop saw the Bigfoot 5 years ago, so he already knew about him.
Oh yeah, okay, that was funny.
Yeah. Just between us, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I figured that, you know, they gotta add a little bit more plot in there, a little bit more meat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. The little Bigfoot. I'll give it 2 for the log footage and the environmental message. I guess the puppetry was okay. That's about it, really. I wouldn't really say it's nothing to go out of your way to watch.
No, not for adults, at least. I'd say I'd give it a 3 just because it was a competent child film. Like,
Yeah,
show your kids it and they'd probably like it. And it wasn't like poorly shot or, I don't know, competent. So
yeah, it was fine.
yeah.
I
said I didn't like it at all, but like I give it a 3 just because you could show it to kids to, you know, distract them for an hour and a half.
It's a pretty solid kids movie. They'll remember a couple moments, I'm sure. Maybe they'll remember the logging footage. Who knows? But what about you, Zach?
I gave it a 1.
Yeah, you hated it.
That's fair. That's fair. It's totally fair.
What would you say your biggest gripes were with it?
Very generic.
Yep.
And not enough Bigfoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd personally definitely give it lower than a 3, but as a general, I'd give it a 3. But yeah, I'd probably give it like a 1.5 because it was like a copy paste of, you know, E.T.
Yeah, not the best movie I've seen. Not the worst, but not the best by a long shot. All right, I guess it's time for me to talk about the film that I chose, which was a movie that, from what I understand, was filmed in 1990 and then I guess premiered in 1991, but wasn't actually physically released until 1993.
Damn.
Yeah, so
It's
this
like,
movie didn't. Yes, movie had a little bit of a problem getting released, apparently. Which is interesting. It's by the guy who wrote what the heck was that Martin Scorsese movie? After Dark, or I don't remember what the name of it was off the top of my head, but it's actually a really interesting movie. But anyway, so
it felt like one of those weird Australian movies we've seen. I was like, is this one of those Australian movies?
It did feel oddly Australian, I must admit. Like, it's an American film. It's titled Motorama. I should probably say the name of it. And they do say the title and show the title a lot in this movie. So it's a pretty easy title to remember, I would say. And the reason I chose this movie was two reasons. First of all, I spent a good portion of my life not even knowing if this movie actually existed or not, because I actually did see this at a relatively young age, on HBO, I think it was, or some channel like that. And I'm guessing the reason it was on was because my mom saw that the main character in it was a kid, and so she was just like, "Oh, it's a kid's movie," and she just kind of walked away. I think if she'd stayed in the room long enough, she probably would have heard the kid say, you know, the F word and like start cussing a lot, and then you know, then she would probably realize that it wasn't a kid's movie. But yeah, this isn't a kid's movie.
Yeah,
even though it is about a kid. So that's the first reason I chose it, and the second reason I chose it is because I found out it was a real movie because it was on a list of bad movies, and I was like, oh shit, this what oh my gosh. So I kind of went through a bit of a, you know, weird sort of experience, because this doesn't seem like a movie that really should exist in my view. Like, there's just something about it that doesn't feel
so
like
weird.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something very wrong about it, but I can't quite describe it, you know. But okay, so let me try to, I guess, summarize it.
I will say beforehand, before you do that,
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was, besides probably have to do with cars. Like the first, I don't know, he drove by the first Motorama like billboard, and I thought, oh, is this going to be like a demolition derby he's going to try and enter?
Yeah.
But no, it was like an anti-gambling kind of message movie.
Yeah, I would say at its core, it's a movie that's kind of anti-gambling, but kind of also just anti-addiction in general, really. But I'll get into that in a minute. So, all right, so the movie stars Rusty from Full House. I don't remember what his actual name is, but
The kid was a good actor.
actually, yeah, probably one of the better child actors we've had on this show, more than likely, out of all the Drek we've watched.
Yeah.
But this movie establishes itself pretty immediately. So this kid basically flees his home because, okay, it kind of starts off like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which starts off, which I know is a weird comparison, but that's like the only other movie I can think of that this movie reminds me of for some reason. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: Next Generation starts off with Renee Zellweger like in her room, like putting on her prom dress, and her parents are arguing downstairs and fighting. And I guess in the extended cut, her father like busts into her room and, you know, does something terrible. But I haven't seen the extended version of that, so I have no clue. But the movie kind of starts off like that, where this kid is kind of, he's in it. It sort of also reminds me of Evil Dead 2 a little bit. The scenes where Ash is in the cabin putting together the chainsaw, you know. But so it starts off, this kid is in like I'm assuming like a cabin, and it's really eerie and intense and moody, you know. It feels like a horror movie, and you know, he's putting together like this foot extension thing, and in the background you can hear his parents arguing, and they're obviously really dysfunctional people.
I thought it was more comedic because just the lines they were saying to each other.
It was like Jerry Springer level.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at one point she says something like about how she should have killed him or something, or she should have killed him when I was pregnant with him or something like that.
Oh no,
like,
the dad said that. She was like,
okay, that was...
and you have a son too, remember? And she was like, yeah, I know, I should have strangled him in the crib.
Oh like, yeah, that was
it. Fuck.
Yeah. And then you hear him like beating the crap out of her and all this. It's like, what the heck is going on? Yeah, so this kid is obviously in an extremely abusive, like, domestic violence household. So he creates these foot these foot extension things, and he steals a Mustang and runs away from home. But of course it quickly starts going wrong. He immediately sort of realizes like, oh crap, I'm a minor. So as soon as a cop catches on, or even as soon as just a normal pedestrian catches on to me, like I'm just, I'm doomed, so like he goes to a diner, and this one guy like comes over. It's like wicked intense, because there's like a really like there's a drunk guy who is like talking about wanting a piece of cake, and they like toss him out into the river, and I think they kill him because his head like hits a rock and blood streams down
it's a little creek
river.
too. It's just a
Yeah,
little creek, not even a river. It's like a barely running creek.
so weird. And like incidentally, I'd seen a movie called I rewatched a movie called Stalker not too long before I watched this, and there's a shot in that movie that's exactly like that shot, only not as short. Like it's a longer shot where they're like following a stream full of just various objects, and so it was just kind of weird to watch a movie that sort of had that same shot in it. But anyway, so he goes to this diner, and this one guy immediately confronts him, and he has to make up some lie about how he got the Mustang, when in reality he hijacked it, which I don't know how plausible it is for somebody to leave their key in a Mustang, but whatever.
In this world, pretty plausible.
Yeah, that's kind of what you quickly realize, is that this kid, so he runs away from home, but he pretty much encounters almost like basically everybody he encounters is just a giant piece of shit.
Dumbass too. Like they don't understand that
Yeah.
he's a kid somehow. He looks like one.
Yeah, like he which, although he talks like an adult, which is kind of interesting.
The only one character that does really too.
Yeah. But he goes to a diner, some guy confronts him, he makes up some lie, and so he immediately realizes, it's like, okay, shit, people are going to catch on to me really
Stamp
quickly.
collection.
So,
Yeah, he got it.
Yeah, that was it. And the guy says something, I don't know, he knows he's lying, but I don't remember how he indicated it. Anyway,
I don't think he knew. He just he laughed it off and was like, "Hey guys, you got it from a stamp collection."
Okay.
I don't know if it was sarcasm or they believe it, because at first, I would think, "Oh yeah, sarcasm," but then as the movie progresses, you're like, "Oh wait, maybe they did believe him."
But there was a really, really creepy moment though, which it really bothered me for some reason, where like the kid, he says he sold his stamp collection, right? And then there's like a bead of sweat that drips down his face, and it hits the guy's hand, and then the guy looks at him like he's gonna eat him,
like he's
almost,
like, "Oh,
and
you're lying."
Yeah, and he says something. He says, "Oh, you better not go get married," or something like that. It was like a really intense like moment. And then he goes back to his table and is like, "Oh, he sold the stamp collection." Oh, and that was it. So that was like wicked intense. And so he flees. He doesn't even drink his coffee. Oh yeah, he got a coffee, by the way.
Yeah, coffee, no sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then okay, what? Oh yeah, okay. So then he's like on his way wherever, and he sees like a sign that says like Motorama in big letters. And which turns out to be this, it's kind of like it's not like a card game, but it's like a collection game where if you go to any gas station and buy $5 worth of gas, you get a card that has a letter on it, or
like a scratch off ticket, basically.
Yeah, like you scratch it off or peel it off or whatever, and underneath it is it's may or may not be a letter, and according to the rules of this game, which you don't find out right away, but according to the rules of this game, the goal is if you get all the letters of the title of the movie Motorama, of this gambling game, then you, at least according to the supposed rules, get $500 million, or at least that's what the kid's understanding of the game is,
Yep.
And the reason he decides to start playing this game, I'm guessing, is because like he's actually, it says all ages can play, so it's like one of the only things he can do. It's like one of the only forms of gambling he can take part in. Because the film definitely establishes that he's a minor.
He's 10.
Not only,
yeah.
yeah. and he goes to this gas station and it has this one dude who I forget what the actor's name is. He looks like Michael Stipe, but he's like this guy who has like a kite attached to. This movie's so freaking weird. Okay, so he has a kite attached to a gas pump that has a picture of him shaking hands with a police officer, which he doesn't want to show to anybody at all, except for it. We're presumed to assume it's God that he wants to show that he's shaking hands to a police officer in order to demonstrate that he's like a good person, which
I thought it was his dad that died, not the picture, but like he wanted to show. I don't know.
okay, maybe
He was like, "Hey, Dad, look at me, I'm good," or something. I don't remember. Not exactly.
Okay, you see, the reason I thought he was trying to show it to God was because at one
That
point
too.
the kid says something about like, "Oh, maybe you're accepted" or something like that.
Hmm.
I forget exactly, but okay, so he goes to this gas station and he like gets gas or whatever, and this guy is like, I guess, trying to prove that he's good to God by tying a kite as high as he can. And so he like goes to the gas station and he wants these cards because he buys gas, and the guy can't find them, and then a cop shows up. And by the way, Zach, I mean, if you have anything to say, please chime in.
Not yet.
Well, okay. So okay, so he like talks to the cop, and the cop like starts suspecting that the kid is like, or no, that's not what happens. He asks where the kid's father is, and the kid says he's in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And the guy at the gas station gets pissed at the kid because you lied to an officer of the law, or so he says something like that. And so I guess he thinks that's going to diminish his chances or whatever because he didn't tell the cop that he was lying. I don't know. And so that's when the kid like just comes clean and just talks about the fact that he's pissed off because he can't really do anything because he's a minor. So the guy lets him go ultimately, which for some reason the kid decided to untie the kite. I didn't really understand that.
Why? Just to fuck with him.
I guess so. And as the guy's pretty much like that's like the one bad...
why?
Yeah, I don't know. That was
like
that
at first I thought he was gonna help him out a little bit because he was speaking like, oh, I just need some more wire to get it higher, and then you see that it's wrapped around quite a bit. So I thought he was helping him out, like giving it more slack to go higher. But no, he just it completely flies off.
Yeah, that was so
like,
strange.
oh, what a dick move, dude.
I know. It's like, why would you do that, dude? Like, he's trying to be this nice guy or whatever. I don't even know. I don't know why he's trying to be so nice, but whatever. And like, and also I think earlier on in the scene he says something about how like nothing matters, like, and all this stuff. But so it doesn't really make sense for him to chase after the kite. But that as the guy's running down the road, the kid's like, oh, you got accepted or whatever. I think that's what that means or something. So maybe that's what that's all about. But then he ends up getting hit by a truck, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. And we have to probably put the groundwork of this world is that it's like a different universe, America of some sort.
Yeah.
Because they enter states that don't exist. Like he keeps driving through to get more, just to go to gas station, and he like weird ass states. And it's like, it reminded me like of a dark Idiocracy. Like, yeah, everybody's a moron somehow, like gets fooled by this 10-year-old except for the cop, who seems to be the only one that's somewhat intelligent. Yeah, and kind of onto him. Like, yeah, because the kid keeps saying the same thing, because he stops him at a rest stop later on in the movie, and he's like, where's your dad? He's like, oh, he's using the bathroom somewhere. He's like taking a piss. And which that was another thing that this movie kept on, like people taking pisses on the side of the highway. I mean, I've done it a million times, but I don't know why. Like, was there a theme that they were trying to go with for that? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. But he says something to the cop about his dad taking a piss because he has diabetes, and the cop is like, oh, he catches on. He's like, well, your dad seems to need to use the bathroom a lot, and the kid's like, yeah, that's because he has diabetes. And so then the cop kind of lets him go. And smart kid for a 10-year-old. Extremely, yeah. That's why
until
it's
you
a
kind of. Oh yeah.
that's why it's a weird, like, because this kid is smarter than everyone in this movie.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting, but so okay, so but pretty much the only character he encounters who seems like a relatively okay person is the gas station guy. So what's his name? Phil, I think his name is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So all right, so then he goes to a hotel, and the guy at the hotel is played by Jack Nance. All right, so this is when the movie starts getting really weird. So the guy at the, and by the way, this movie has a ton of cameos in it, which is interesting. So he goes to a hotel, and the guy at the hotel who owns it is Jack Nance, who plays the main character in Eraserhead, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And he accuses the kid of hiding a girl in his car, and has to investigate his car. And then later on, he like kind of knocks on the door of his hotel room and is like, if you see any squirrels, give them to me.
Yeah. Yep, I wrote that line down because he was like real aggressive with it.
Yeah, that made me laugh. Okay, so then you go, oh, and the guy did manage to catch like 6 or 7 squirrels or something like that.
And he's killing them with like he like hooks up an exhaust to a box where he shoved them in. So
yeah,
he's
like
giving them carbon monoxide poisoning.
It's so weird because this movie actually does establish a lot of like plot points really well, because it actually like finishes these plot points, and it's just kind of unusual to watch. But anyway, all right, so he leaves the hotel, and he's gotten a bunch of cards by this point. He's already gotten an M, and he stops at a rest stop. At this point in the movie, like, this is the scene where it's not for kids. So he stops at a rest stop, and he gets, I think, another letter. Oh, he gets the third letter. He's gotten 2 letters by this point, and he gets the third letter, I think, at this. I think, I can't remember exactly. I don't remember what order he gets the letters in, but
I'm not sure, because there is one point where it was like, oh, they're just speeding up this movie because he gets like 3 right in a row at one point.
Yeah, but that was later on, I think.
Yep.
That was
that was later on.
Yeah. Okay, so he's like at a rest stop, and some couple asks if they can have a quickie in his Mustang, and he doesn't even answer them, and they just go right on ahead.
Like, I don't even think he heard them.
Yeah, he's too busy like, focused on these Motorama cards and scratching them off or whatever. Yeah. And they get into his car and just start randomly banging, and it's like a full-on sex scene. Like, there's no question. Yeah. And she's like moaning and groaning, and he at the same time is simultaneously, because he gets another letter at this point, and he's moaning and groaning too. So it automatically like makes a correlation.
Yeah, it's laying over like the sounds of her saying, yeah, and he's like, yeah.
Like, it immediately makes a correlation between like the experience of addiction and gambling, and like what it means to like experience like climaxing during sex. But it's weird because it's like a kid who's like at the core of it. So like, it's just a weird concept, and it's hard to sort of like be fully on board with, despite how ambitious it is, I guess. But he goes to a diner. Oh no, before he goes to a diner, he pops a tire, and he goes to a repair shop, and they fix his tire, but they kind of make fun of him for playing the game like Motorama. So it's like, that's kind of ominous. But he goes
They do say, and they make fun of him saying, oh, that game's only for kids.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Okay. All right.
It's like, what in the world?
Are they catching on? No, they're not.
I think the actor, it was that guy. I forget what his name is. The guy in that movie, The Stuff, who has that really weird death scene where it starts like busting out of his mouth, and it splits his head open or whatever. So he plays the guy who like makes fun of the kid. He's like, oh, he plays Motorama, and he starts like laughing, and it's like this weird moment. And then the kid just like goes to a diner, and he bumps into Flea.
Yeah, I was like, is that Flea? Hold on, pause, like look up the IMDb. Yeah, that's Flea.
Yeah, Flea probably has the best cameo in this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So he like so he like the kid. Okay, so the kid decides he sees like some couple, and he decides to start siphoning their gas. And the guy, I forget his name. He's a comedian. I know the wife is played by Mary Warnow, who's an actor. She's like one of the most fearless of the fearless type of act, probably one of the most interesting people to come out of the whole Andy Warhol scene, actually. But she plays the wife. I know
she
that.
did come from that.
Yeah.
Got those vibes.
Yeah, kind of an interesting cameo. But okay, so he decides to siphon gas from their vehicle, but he needs help doing it, so he asks Flea, and he doesn't want to do it at first, but then the kid gives him $1.
Yep.
And then something else weird happens. Oh yeah. Okay, so then he
disguise.
Yeah, he buys a pair of mustache glasses and goes into the kitchen as a health inspector, which actually, okay, I will admit that scene did kind of like freak me out just a little bit, only because like I've actually been in a kitchen where when a health inspector has shown up, and I've been in a diner when a health inspector has shown up, and those people are like the scariest people ever. Like they don't mess around at all. They just go around and they just like judge everything and everybody, and then they lift shit up. You'll be eating at a table and they'll tell you to like move, and they'll look under they like bust in and they just have total control of like whatever situation they're in. So this movie's kind of making fun of that a little bit by having the kid be the health inspector.
Yeah, and this scene was like, oh, this is a completely different reality, because he's fooling them with those fake glass big nose goggles. I was like, oh, these people are like, this is why I like kept thinking of Idiocracy, kind of like it's definitely different tone, but like a bunch of weird people that are like being fooled by some kid. It's just like, oh, shit.
He like, because I don't, he says something, I think he even judges the food. Oh yeah, you $20 for making Yankee bean soup or something weird like that.
Yeah, he's like $10 for smoking, $20 for making it.
That's it. Yeah, like it has some crazy lines in it. So all right. So Flea helps him out with the gas. Oh, another thing that happens is the actual health inspector shows up, and Flea ends up knocking him out with a pot, which I thought was really funny. So then he helps the kid siphon the gas, and then there's like an introspective moment where he talks about how like he feels like he's finally found his purpose, and the kid talks about how alone we are in the universe. And it's actually kind of an interesting sort of poetic moment, mainly because it's Flea, and it's kind of like, wow, it's just kind of interesting to see somebody like Flea having like a scene like this in a movie. And then the film takes a really, really dark turn.
And before you go to that, this isn't the first movie we've seen Flea in this show, in our podcast, right? He was in, was it Freaked, or was it?
I think it was Freaked. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Freaked had a bunch of people in it.
He was definitely in a movie we've done on this show.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I just don't remember what it is though off the top of my head.
I love Red Hot Chili Peppers, so anytime I see Flea acting, I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, no, Red Hot Chili Peppers is amazing. And actually, on a side note, and maybe I'm just procrastinating, but on a side note, a lot of people I know who have synesthesia really love Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is I just think that's a kind of an interesting. Do you know what synesthesia is, right?
Yeah. They see music or see sounds or whatever.
Yeah, it's just something interesting. I think it's kind of, I don't know, interesting tidbit. Okay, so he decides to start. So he's like getting the gas, and this couple end up knocking him out, taking them to, I can only presume, is their motel home. I don't really know if I should go into detail about what actually happens, but he loses an eye and they assault him, to summarize. And at one point, a doctor shows up. It's a messed up scene. I'm not going to get into what happens.
Fucked up.
Yeah, it's like, probably just the one thing. And but then after that, you get a really incredible scene where, okay, well, so first of all, after everything that happens, he does get to keep the gas. And then there's this scene, there's like a moment, which this was the moment from the film I remembered, where he like goes to like a tire that's full of water, and he's like trying to wipe all the lipstick off. And then like the next shot, he like it's like this shot of just like pure like garbage everywhere and burning car. It looks like a junkyard, and like Motorama is shining in big like colorful letters in the background, and he's just kind of staring at it. And he's got an eye patch, by the way, because I guess they had the courtesy of getting him an eye patch.
Yeah,
And
the doctor was like, I can operate him on him now, or he'll lose an eye. And then those two guys, that couple was just like, let him lose the eye.
Yeah. It's like Lost Build's character or something like that.
Yes,
yeah,
that's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah. And also I think they pretend, I don't know, they did something funny that I thought was weird. But all right, so then what happens? So then he like goes and gets back to his Mustang and starts like, you know, going forth on his journey. And let's see, he I think at some point manages to you know, get a bunch of cards. Like he stops at a gas station that has like a bunch of old cards that had been discarded, and I think he leaves, and then like something else happens. Like this is the point in the movie where it starts to get really bizarre. Like he goes to a bar, and Meatloaf is there, and he sees the cop, and so he tries to kind of divert attention away from himself by like getting into like an arm wrestling match with Meatloaf, which of course ends up, you know, costing him $50 that he doesn't have. So then they torture him by tattooing the letters that he's missing on his arm.
Yep. Tora, Tora.
Yeah,
and he gets and like he actually gets a whole friggin' sleeve basically too.
Yeah, which, you know, because he just keeps going to get from gas station to gas station, burning $5, and you know, he keeps getting low on money and trying to find ways to make money by he ends up gambling at one point at a rest stop with a father played by Dick Miller, who ends up basically abandoning his kids on the side of the highway or in the middle of the woods or whatever.
I wrote that down. Yeah.
Yeah, which was just an insanely messed up. Like, although it was hilarious to see Dick Miller do it. I got it.
Right. I was like, yeah, he bet, horseshoe guy bet, and then lost, and then just left his kids. So I was like,
yeah,
why?
I don't know. And I also couldn't help but notice a strange bit of advertising where they had nothing but Coca-Cola and Sprite cans on their table. Let's see, some kid I think at one point makes fun of him for having one eye. The thing about this kid is
I wrote that down too. It was at that same picnic scene with the shoe. He was like, he only has one eye, and then the mom was like, shh, don't, it's not. And then the main Gus was the main character. He's like, it's fine. Gus, it's fine. I've heard it before. And then the mom was like, okay, you can go ahead and make fun of him.
Yeah, that was funny. Say it louder. Yeah, I think she even said.
Yeah.
That was really funny. It's weird because like at the beginning of the movie, like aside from untying the guy's kite, he doesn't seem like a bad kid, but then like throughout the course of the film, he sort of starts to become a little bit more of an antagonist. Like at one point, there's like a couple on the side of the road whose car is like on fire or something, and they're like literally begging for help, and he doesn't pick them up or help them at all. They just kind of stand there confused that he just drove by. And then at one point he gets so caught up in losing that he
foreshadowing. By the way.
Yeah,
foreshadowing right there.
That's true. Yeah. He gets so caught up in trying to get a card that he ends up actually almost discarding. And no, he actually does discard.
Yeah, he's just peeling and saying, fuck. And then he actually throws one out that he needed.
Yeah. And he comes close to, and which of course is a pure and anxiety inducing scene. Because at this point it's like, all right, he got a T, I think it was. And it's like flying around in the air. It almost goes off a freaking dam. And somehow it manages to land back in his hand, which was like pure act of serendipity, I guess. I don't know what that was. And
this is the scene that I wrote down, oh, he just got 3 in a row. They're speeding up this movie. They're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
we just realized Motorama is a big word. We might need to just give him a bunch at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, because like after that happens, he pulls over, starts peeling the rest of the card, and he gets 2 like almost in a row, I think.
Yep.
And it's kind of like a big, and he goes, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and he does the weird thing, walks around the car. Let's see. All right, then the movie gets like really bleak and weird, as if it wasn't already. Like, it felt like as he kept on driving, the wasteland, like it started becoming more and more industrialized, and then like
The closer he gets to the Motorama headquarters, yeah, it keeps getting like more post-apocalyptic looking.
Yeah, and he goes to all these different gas stations, and he can't find the R. That's the letter I remember he was trying to find. And there was one funny line that I don't remember what it was now, but he said something to the guy. He's like, "You ever heard about anybody getting an R in this game?" or something like that. Like, I don't remember what he says, but he said something really funny that like made me laugh. But okay, so he's trying to find an R, and he gets to some Essex, the long state or something like that, or the last state. I don't remember.
Yep.
And it's just like pure carnage. There's like KKK members. There's like people getting shot, drug addicts shooting up in the street. There's like some lady with like a dog collar on one dude. Like all this crazy stuff. There's like a weird shower scene where he draws an R on the mirror. He like sees an accident, and he sees some guy who's dressed exactly like him in the same kind of Mustang. It's like, oh, he accidentally crashes the Mustang.
Yeah, he crashes.
Yeah. And the guy is like talking, because this guy couldn't find the R either, and he says like, "Oh, I know the R is nearby, so I can feel it. It's mine," or something.
Yeah, and he's like, "I named all my kids like Randy, Randall, Rebecca. Don't name your kids with an R. It's just bad luck."
Yeah, like it's just so messed up. I'm like,
and he's bleeding and shit, and then after he says that, he just dies.
Yeah, and then the kid like how do you even go on after seeing something like that? This kid is like wicked tenacious.
Yeah.
And he somehow goes on ahead. He gets to, I think it's some kind of shantytown location, and the guy in it, he's played by that one dude who was in House of a Thousand Corpses, and I never remember the name of that weird tall dude. I don't remember what his name is, but he's played by that guy. And he gives him a single Motorama card, and he like does this goofy grin, and it's like this interesting little moment. And the kid is like, "Ugh, thanks." And so at this point, I'm like, okay, that's probably the card. That's probably the R. And he peels the card, and sure enough, it's the R. You know, that was like the one moment of the film I felt, okay, I sort of predicted that a little bit, but whatever. Okay, so then, all right, so he's got all the letters. So then he goes to, what the hell was he? It was something corporate headquarters, like whatever the company was that put out the Motorama cards.
Yeah.
And he goes there, and he kind of slowly realizes that it's a scam. Like I forget exact. Oh yeah, he calls, and they say that he hasn't won the 500 million. He's only eligible to win, or something.
Gotta read the fine print. Yep.
Exactly.
You didn't win. You're only eligible to win.
Yep. It's a chance at winning, not actually winning. He got Sarah Gold Farms. Simple as that. You know, and he ends up going up to the top floor or whatever. Quickly finds out that it's basically just, it's a scam. There's really nothing to it. There's no winner. There's no anything. It's just, it's basically just these people, you know, fucking around, and that's it. Like the person who's in charge of it is a secretary. It's a dead end.
Yep.
And you know, then when he tries to confront the secretary about it, you know, some random dude shows up, and they end up throwing
security.
Him out. Yeah,
because he busts through, and then they call security, and then he's like, You're just a secretary. Let me speak to your boss." And then, okay, he's right behind you. Nope, I'm a security dude.
Yeah, so they cheat him, they lie to him, and then they throw him out a window, and
which was an obvious stunt double.
Yeah,
It was like 2 times his size.
Yeah, they presumably kill him, although he lands in water. Then this is when I get confused.
This is when I hate the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the point where, you know, we were mentioning.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm assuming this is the point we're mentioning.
I think so, because I'm not quite sure I understand this ending. So for whatever reason, he's back. So his eye patch is gone. So he's got his eye back. He's
like he's falling too. He's falling,
yeah.
and his sleeve that because he gets his sleeve ripped off when he's getting tattoos, and the sleeve just like flies up onto him, and it's like he's going back through time or some shit.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing that was weird. All right. So because throughout the course of the movie, the kid's appearance actually changes a lot. Like he goes from being like a normal looking, he goes from looking like Rusty from Full House, you know, to having an eye patch and having like a tattoo and having gray hair and even like stubble. Like,
does he have stubble?
Yeah. Like by the time that he gets to the actual building, he's like aged.
I remember the gray hair, but I thought it was just because he got in that car crash and it was just like dust.
Well, like after that though, like shortly, I think it was after or around the time that he gets to that last Motorama card, he starts growing facial hair.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. There's so much going on in this movie. It's easy to miss, honestly. Yeah. Like, because the kid looks so weird anyway. It's like, yeah, it is actually really funny. But so, all right, so it goes back in time to shortly after he had untied that guy's kite, and
was it after that? I didn't even.
I mean, I can't think of when else it could have been.
It was right after. I mean, because I guess I don't know the exact order, but like it was when they threw the guy in the creek.
Right.
He was washing his face off, but I don't know if that was before or after that Phil scene with him getting hit.
That's the thing about this movie. Like, it almost feels like it's like, okay, so all right, so basically from this point onward, it seems like this is like reality, right?
Yeah. After he gets thrown out the window, yeah.
Okay, so either he's dead and this is like some kind of dying dream, or this is reality. I guess it doesn't ultimately matter. But the point is, he goes to the gas station of the guy who had gotten hit by the truck, you know, the Phil guy.
I mean, what that was is more to me the Jacob's Ladder scenario.
Well, except
I feel it was just I don't know, imagined it, what could have happened or something, and he just was like, maybe I shouldn't do this. And then he just goes to the gas station.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting, because he definitely saw the Motorama cards or this Motorama sign before he got to the gas station.
Yeah, and he had the idea of doing it because of the 30 seconds of Drew Barrymore, who's, you know, on the cover of the.
Oh, I totally forgot to mention that part. Okay, so
the whole reason why he wants to do it is because he saw a commercial with Drew Barrymore.
Okay, was it a commercial? Because I thought, all right. So the scene with Drew Barrymore takes place
way earlier.
It's in the scene in the motel room when he's being assaulted. So he disassociates and he enters like a dream location where Drew Barrymore is like, she's like waving to him and saying Motorama, Motorama, or whatever. She's like doing whatever, and he starts approaching her, and then he sees all the crabs on his feet, and then it goes on.
Yeah.
But that was literally all she does in the movie. She's not even in the movie for 30 seconds.
No, 30 seconds was generous. Yeah.
And she's featured on the front cover of the DVD.
Right.
Like,
this was after she was famous too, I'm assuming, because she looked older than, like, wasn't she a kid actor that got famous?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she was like, I don't know how old she was when she was in this, but it was filmed in 1990, so I'm guessing like 16 or something. But like it didn't add anything to the movie. Like I don't it was just it's kind of a weird thing like to kind of have on a poster, considering like the fact that it's just not even, it doesn't even factor into the plot at all. And actually the DVD cover, it's like a pack of lies. On the front cover, it says something like, to get the girl of your dreams, you have to follow the road or something. Like, I don't remember what it said, but it makes it look like a movie about a kid trying to date Drew Barrymore or something like that.
Mhm.
And it's not that. And so it's just a strange way to advertise the movie. And so then at the end of the movie, all right, so he wakes up from his, I'm gonna assume it was some kind of weird spontaneous ayahuasca trip, maybe, I don't know,
Just trauma
and
trip.
something like that. And he decides to
Yeah.
give up on the Motorama game altogether, which I guess that's probably for the best.
Yeah.
He goes to the gas station with where Phil is.
He gets he was this is the foreshadowing we mentioned. He actually gets hitched.
Yeah.
He hitchhikes to get to that gas station again.
Yes,
I forget
'cause he
why.
ditches-
Or he ditches the car, or
he ditches the foot extensions.
oh right, he
Like-
chucks them out. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I guess he's realizing at this point, like, there's nothing I can do, you know, because every option is exhausted other than the one option I had, you know. And so he decides to go back to this gas station, which makes sense because the guy at the gas station was pretty much the only character in the movie other than Flea, I guess, who was nice to him and actually like helped him by not like ratting him out to the cop.
Mhm.
So instead of going back to his abusive household, he decides to go back to the gas station and stay there and get a job. And apparently live there, which the guy's not really being a good person if he's kidnapping, but whatever. I guess it doesn't matter at this point. And then one other thing happens.
I don't know if it was kidnapping though, because like
I mean,
he says
I
to
don't
the
know what
guy
it
that
was.
was given a hitchhike, he was like, "So you coming?" And he's like, "You know, I don't know." And he points to the help wanted sign. This might be a good place to work, which was again foreshadowed way earlier.
yeah.
When the cop was there the first time, he's like, he points to the help wanted. Maybe you should get a job or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
But what confused me too about this was like, because again, I thought this was all of a dream, and like when it switched back to him giving up and everything, I thought that this was before he met Phil or whatever.
Well, that's the thing, because there was a moment when he splashed water on his face
From the
that
dead
happened
creek.
before he got to the gas station. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at the creek. So it could, like, the ending is so strange. Was it a dream, or was it like,
I don't know.
The gas station guy also had the body cast.
Yeah,
on, too.
that's what confused
Yeah.
me exactly. The gas station dude had the body cast, which I thought happened before or after he met him, or like what, like it was a little out of order or something. Like
I don't know. It had to have been done. It had to have been done intentionally though, because those are such specific things.
yeah,
But I don't know why. That's that's why the only thing I can think of is like an ayahuasca trip, because like that's the one thing that would kind of sort of make it make sense, you know. But then
what I
yeah.
thought is he was just playing it all out in his mind and imagination, like before he actually went through with it.
Yeah.
And then he was like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not gonna try.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense too. That's the thing. I guess either concept. I mean, there's a bunch of, maybe it's just up for interpretation. Maybe the kid has like really good, maybe he has foresight into the future or something. I don't know.
I mean,
It
he
just- but
was
it
the
does-
only like adult character in this movie that had made any sensible decisions ish.
That's true. Yeah.
Or-
But one other thing happens though. So he's at the gas station and this guy shows up who won a bunch of money at not Las Vegas, but whatever the equivalent of Las Vegas is in the world of
Oh, right,
Motorama. He just won a bunch of money and is like bragging about it, being kind of a douche.
Yeah, he was like,
And-
and he was working there by then. He was like, fill her up, and then the guy was like, no, empty it.
Yeah.
And,
And
he
which is,
laughed
like,
at his
not
own
even-
joke for like 20 seconds. Empty it, I said.
Yeah, which and wasn't there like a scene at the beginning of the movie, by the way, where the kid like goes to the person who was the bank teller was somebody I know too, and I don't remember her name, but like she's kind of like, she works at a bank and she doesn't want to count the coins. Like that's like another example of like an adult who doesn't act like an adult.
Like, do your job. That's your job. What are you talking about? You don't want to count the coins.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And she's like, oh well, it's gonna take hours. He's like, well then it'll take hours or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so he talks to the dude who won a bunch of money gambling. By the way, we apologize if the summarizing doesn't really make any sense. Like what we're talking about makes about as much sense as the movie. All right, so he won a bunch of money. He drives off into the sunset, and then he gets hit by the same truck that hit Phil. I mean, that was definitely the same truck. Am I wrong? It was like a big white truck that hit Phil earlier in the movie that hits this guy. And
the money guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was like dollar bills on fire floating.
Yeah.
Down.
Like
Money.
this is kind of an interesting moment.
And he was like,
kid,
you want to see it? You want to touch it? And he opened the briefcase before he drove off. He opened the briefcase. He's like, go ahead, touch it. And Gus was just like put his hand on it. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a weird thing because it's like, you know, he spent the whole movie trying to get money, and then he sees this guy who just won $1 million or whatever, and he drives off and then gets killed by a truck. And then like basically he works at a gas station. The place doesn't even have a radio because the guy enjoys the sound of silence for whatever reason. But you know,
and
whatever.
Gus was like, I kind of like music.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, but oh well. So he works at a gas station with a guy who at least isn't abusing him.
Yeah.
It's about the best you can say about that character's fate. So and that's about it for all I have to say. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts?
I don't know. I think I got what I needed to say out. I mean, I of course hate that ending of, you know, it being a semi-dream, whatever the fuck it was, not negating the entire movie always pisses me off.
I think it could have worked if when they threw him out the window, he managed to somehow get back.
I would have liked if he just splat and died. Roll credits.
Well, I mean, I think the ending could have worked if he maybe had gone through those experiences and got back to the gas station somehow by some miraculous. Because when they threw him out the window, he landed in water. So maybe they could have pulled like a Huckleberry Finn type of thing where he swam downstream. Because I mean, the movie takes place in a weird version of America anyway. They could have done something like that. Had him go back to the gas station because he lost his Mustang, he lost everything, and decides to work there. The guy could be like, Jesus, what happened to you? The kid's like, it's a long story. And they could have made it work. I don't know. Or maybe the problem is they filmed the last scene before they filmed the rest of the movie. And then they decided to just have the kid get all fucked up throughout the course of the film. And then just decide to somehow try to make it work, because they shot the last scene out of order or something. And decided to change the script. I mean, I don't know what was with the ending. I don't know. I don't get it. Like, come on, I don't want to say that it sucked because it feels like it was done with intent, but I don't know what the intent was.
I think it sucked because I honestly was like, oh, this movie's actually kind of interesting and neat and cool.
Yeah.
Until they did that ending.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's kind of more or less how I felt. So, I mean, I'll still give it a 3 because I mean, I don't love it. I'm not ready to love it, but there's something to it. I think it had an interesting quality to it. I think it's pretty disturbing for the type of film that it is. It kind of reminded me a little bit too much of movies like the Doom Generation and like Freeway and stuff. Those weird like 90s road movies that were like insanely violent and crazy and were really bleak and had a lot to do. They always had amazing soundtracks. And actually, this movie had a good soundtrack too, but I'm not going to get into that. They were always about like the loneliness of the road and the emptiness of the American dream and all that stuff. And like, I guess Wild at Heart kind of falls into that category too. And like, you know, stuff like that. California with a K. Like this movie kind of reminded me of that a little bit, you know, like a weird 90s road movie, you know.
So you gave it a 3?
Yeah, I think I'd give it about a 3.
I mean, I would have given it at least a 3 until the end. I can't go higher than 2. So I have give it a 1.5 just for that ending fucking stuck an ass. Like fuck that.
Yeah, the ending is really frustrating.
I gave it a 3 as well. I loved how bizarre it was.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
But the ending is bizarre as well. So, but it still kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got to think about the ending more because, like, I don't want to hate the ending, but I don't like how they did the whole like the when he's falling out the window, like that was stupid. You know, it felt like it didn't even belong in that movie. Like, and it was a movie full of like weird stuff, but even like that really felt out of place to me. To have like time going backwards and stuff. Like I hate when movies do that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And that's why like I think like your idea of like, oh, he fell in the creek and then made it back to that gas station all fucked up still. And then just worked from there. That would have been better than whatever the hell, if it was a dream or time travel, whatever the hell it was. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I don't know. I'm gonna guess it was like a rewind. I don't know. So it's like, but this isn't Funny Games. I'm sorry. Like you can't really pull that off.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Maybe it'll get a Blu-ray at some point with some new interviews or some shit.
Yeah. Honestly, I think this movie could use a restoration. Like, because
I think it'd be great Vinegar Syndrome release.
Yeah, it seems like something they would release. That's the thing that's kind of cool about it. You know, just like weird. That I think they're releasing that one movie, Tough Guys Don't Dance or whatever. Like, that's like weird and sort of the similar way this movie is. Like, that's kind of cool that they're releasing that. So. Of course, it does have that "Oh God, oh man" scene that everybody knows and loves. Like, okay, so I think that about does it for Motorama. So now the final film that we are going to talk about is the choice that you made, Nick, right?
Yep, I chose Samurai Cop.
Okay, yeah.
So like I'll play my hand a little bit before we even like get to the end. It's just I loved this movie. I fucking loved it. This is the kind of movie I pictured when we made this podcast of watching is like this kind of dumb, stupid shit that's just hilarious and all the right reasons. I'll do a little thing that we've never done before.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna do a little share screen right here. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is 4 minutes into the movie, and I think just this they were just talking about, you know, going on a job. I laughed the hardest I think I've ever laughed in any of our movies just at this imagery. Not what they were saying, not what they were doing, just that his fucking hair, that hat, that thing. I was just like, I had to pause it and laugh for a good minute and a half. I broke down. I was like, yes, oh God, yes. Because it looks like, you know, fucking Steve Carell doing a Michael Scott character from one of his fake movies. It's just like so fucking funny. I could not help but laugh my ass off. I was like, oh, I'm ready for this shit right here, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes me laugh looking at it now still. He's so fucking goofy.
Oh. Like, I mean, when I saw I had to kind of like when I saw the way you looked in that moment, I had to figure out a way to come to terms with the fact that he was going to be the main character, because like, and it was a little hard for me, but I managed to do it because like I was afraid, okay, I'm gonna have to stare at that for like the next 90 minutes, like, you know, but I managed to find it in myself to feel okay with that. And
Yeah.
you know, once I did that, that did make the movie
I was way
much
okay
more
with it.
interesting.
I was so okay with it.
Yeah, I think
'Cause at first I thought wig, but
yeah,
throughout the movie I don't know if it was or not. Like,
yeah, well,
Apparently it's only a wig for reshoots, because they did reshoots months later, apparently.
okay.
whoops.
And I mean, I'll tell you, there's a definite slip up that you know it's a wig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you about that one in a little bit.
Oh my gosh, there was a lot of slip ups.
Yeah, some of the acting was just like they flubbed their lines, but kept like, did they do more than one take for any of this? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It didn't feel like there was much editing going on. Like,
No.
kind of felt like they just sort of placed it together. Like, because some of the edits were so bad, I couldn't believe it. Like,
Yeah.
so, okay, so the one thing I would say about this movie is that if you like samurai movies, this isn't the movie for you, because like, because I'm somebody who loves a lot of samurai movies, and when I heard Samurai Cop, my first thought was, oh, this is gonna be awesome, like samurai guy running around slashing people, doing like the samurai thing, you know, like running around being a cop, like
Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Yeah, like I was kind of expecting something along those lines, or like maybe even Ghost Dog, like maybe something like a combination of the two. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect this, I will say that.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, so you can imagine my bewilderment when I started watching this film, and I was perplexed by
So I mean, before that
pretty much
shot,
everything.
yeah, okay. All right, so before that shot, it just starts like at 100, because I was like, wait, hold on, did I miss like the first half hour? Because it was just like it's takes, you know, it's about the samurai cop and him taking down a mobs, or I don't know what.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make it very clear.
Yeah, because there are multiple mobs, but some are working with them, but I'm pretty sure they're just attacking one, but the others don't really come into play, like except for those first like 3 minutes where there's like they're talking about mob business and shit, and then there was just a stabbing, and I was like, wait, hold on, wait, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Why is it starting so fast? So like, and then it mostly starts at that picture where we meet our buddy samurai, they call him, but his name is Joe something generic.
Yeah.
And then
Joe Marshall.
Joe Marshall and his partner Frank.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going. I don't know if it's necessarily undercover, but they're following these mobster group. The main bad guys are a mob called Katana. And someone in the movie asked, "What's katana mean?" And he was like, "It's It's Japanese for sword," which I don't know if that's true, but I know it's a Japanese sword type. I don't know if that's the actual little translation.
That says that right on the back of the Blu-ray.
Oh my gosh, that line made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they're following them, like you know, trying to catch them. They have a helicopter also following them around with the one of the other main female cops is the other Peggy, I think her name is.
Something like that, yeah.
And
I think that was her name.
At first I was like, oh, she said, oh, I see the van. I was like, really? You're real high up. How the hell do you see the van? I don't know. Maybe they're trained for that type of stuff, but anyway, it starts off with the cocaine bust.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
it starts off with a chase scene after they get to the thing where they're chasing the van down, and then there's shooting outside the van, and there was a lot of this type of stuff where it was repeated ADR, and he was like saying shoot him, shoot him, over and over, and it was so badly done. Like the acting was just like atrocious too.
It was like next level
bad. Like no emoting from Mr. Samurai here. The gunplay was just awful too. Like people would get shot and no blood or anything would come out, except for sometimes where it wasn't squibs. It was just like I think they had like just a blood packet, because they would go like hit their chest, and then really crappy blood would flow out, or there would just be no blood at all of them getting shot.
There was always either too much or too little. Like, it always looked ridiculous no matter what. They couldn't get the squibs right, like, at all. If that's what they were using, I don't even know.
Like I don't think they had. I don't think so. But they shot one of the dudes out of the van. They run him over. I was like, okay, all right. The van eventually just crashes into like a side of the road dune thing and explodes like a crazy explosion.
And then one dude gets caught on fire.
He gets caught on fire. It's obviously a double, because it's like the guy that was driving was, I think he looked Hispanic, but I'm assuming probably not. Some type of Latino descent. But when they were like, they said, quick, get the fire extinguisher, get the blanket, we gotta pat it. It was obviously just some white dude too. He was, because he had his face to the camera. He was like, he was on the ground, face to the camera, obviously not the same guy, a little taller and slimmer. And they like didn't cover his face. Like I'm assuming they wanted them to just throw it over him fully, but they like just first put it over like the back half, leaving his head wide open to the camera, looking at the camera, and then they put the blanket over his head. And I was just the
shots of the guy burning were just a little too long. Like they didn't really know how to cut it properly. Like, they would stay on the shots too long, and you'd start seeing, oh, it's obviously not the same guy. And also like the reaction timing was so bad. Like it took them 2 minutes just to figure out how to put a blanket over a guy. Like,
and I'm wondering, like, why did they have one of those fire retardant blankets and a fire extinguisher in their trunk? Is that standard? Is that okay? That actually makes sense then, because I don't know if that. I mean, maybe the blanket, but I don't think maybe cops have fire extinguishers in their cars. I don't know.
Good question.
But it was also, I think, like an undercover car. Like I don't know if like they're well equipped. I'll give them that. For any scenario.
I really appreciated that.
But like again, this movie was like atrociously edited. After that, straight cut, hard cut sex scene.
Oh my god!
Straight hard cut sex scene to Samurai with the pilot lady, the pilot cop lady.
The sex scenes in this movie were so silly. Out of 0. But they're sex scenes, so what can you do?
Couple minutes of that, maybe a minute and a half. Not bad. Good looking lady.
Attractive bodies. It's just strange. Like they just randomly show up in this movie.
And then they give a little backstory to the samurai. He's his name's because his name is Joe Marshall. He was trained by master. I literally had to pause or rewind it because I just wanted to get this wording right. It was his name's Joe Marshall, but they call him Samurai. He was trained by masters in Japan. He speaks fluent Japanese. He was brought to San Diego to flush these guys out, which are the Katana Gang. So
I mean it gets okay. So Robert Zadar shows up, and he does something stupid.
Which one's that? Who's he?
He's the guy with the big chin.
Okay. Yeah. The henchman of the Katana gang.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. He's around, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he goes, so this movie's so horny too. They go to the because they want to interrogate the burn victim, but they're like, you can't, his lips are burned, he can't talk. He's like, ever? No, in a few weeks he'll be fine. Yeah. So they put
So awkward.
so awkward. So they say, all right, keep an eye on him, don't let anyone but nurses in. And then it like cuts to back to the Katana gang saying we need the main like head honcho boss man tells, what's his name, I don't remember, the big
Joe Marsh or Joe Murd, whatever. Joe.
no,
Whatever,
the
Murray,
main, the
whatever his
henchman,
guy's name is.
he tells like, so we're at the
Oh.
they're at the bad guy's base. He's like, we need to kill him. And
Oh, okay.
set an example. I want this
yeah.
dude's head on my piano.
Yeah. So Robert Zidar, I didn't expect him to be in this movie, and I mean, he's been in his fair share of work that I'm sure we'll see more of on this show, more than likely. But even so, it was still strangely surprising to see him in this. I don't know why. For some reason, it surprised me. I guess maybe it's because it felt like a lot cheaper than the type of movie that even he would be in, but I don't know. But then again, he was in Pocket Ninjas, so I guess it doesn't matter.
So yeah, they want his head. And he has like a girlfriend hench woman with him that's like his right hand woman. He's like his sidekick.
Yeah.
Oh wait, before that even, I have another thing I wrote down. It was when she was like, he was talking to the main nurse that said he can't talk.
Yeah.
The nurse, they walk out, and then the nurse was just like, "So, do you like what you see?" She was referring to herself. And he said, "Yes, I love what I see." And then she responds, "Would you like to touch what you see?"
And she does.
And she was like, and asks, and she's like, and he asks if he wants. She asks if he wants to go out, and would you like to? She just says, "Would you like to fuck me?"
It was so strange. I thought the movie was going to turn into a porno.
Right, me too. I was like, what am I want? Is this like, going to be a softcore porno?
Yeah, is this going to go in the direction? I wonder, but then it didn't. So.
Yeah. No, because we don't see her again, except it was like,
that was such a stupid scene. Yeah.
It was so funny though.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was like, what the heck? And then what happened? Then Robert Zidar cuts the guy's head off.
Yeah, so they sneak in because the cop that was guarding them is hitting on some other nurses.
Yeah. And
the henchwoman's, like pretending to be a nurse with the trash. I need to, what you got? And the cop, the security guard was like, "Hey, stop! No one's allowed in there. What? I need to replace the trash." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And Robert Zidar comes out, chops the dude's head off, and then just they bail. And then immediately the cop notices, and I don't know, he's like, call security. Like, aren't you security? What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. It was so strange because like it was hilarious, but like it was more hilarious because of how awkward it was,
Yeah, and they get away pretty easy, like
surprisingly easy.
And then so they go back to the police precinct, or what is that they call it? Like police station, whatever. The precinct. Okay, yeah. And they have a typical police captain dude that yells at him for messing up, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
He had a little. They say it a few times. Frankly, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Like he says it twice, and then one of the ladies says it. It's just like, okay. And then that scene was weird too, because like at the end they were like, I should fire you, but I'm not gonna, because his partner Frank sticks up for him, says no, give him another shot, and he's like, okay. And then Frank goes, kisses him on his kisses the police captain on his head, and he's like, get the fuck out of here. And the shot again, this is where they did is shit editing, they don't cut, and he's like just pointing for a good like 10-15 seconds, sits down, and then just starts laughing. Like I don't know if it was like a blooper laugh or like they told him to laugh, because it was like kind of a fake laugh, but it was just like, why did they keep that 15 seconds of him just pointing? Like I was like, okay, cut, and then he sits down, all right, cut, and then he just starts laughing.
This movie had like a number of inexplicable little details about it that I didn't really understand.
Yeah.
Like, it mostly had to do with the main character and just
Yeah.
what in the world? Like, I mean, the guy, I can't even. What in the world? I don't know. I mean, okay. So he's like constantly being criticized or whatever for like messing up or whatever. He's, consistently, busting everyone up in sight, essentially. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, he's some kind of lethal enforcer, but like, isn't it? But like, all right, where does the samurai thing play into it? Like I kept on waiting for that sort of element to be established.
Right. He knows like, some type of martial arts, but he does.
Right.
Obviously, he but not more than, because a lot of the fight scenes are him just punching, but then he like does hand grabs to like subdue them a lot, and then I was wondering, so there's no at this point I was like, oh, they're probably never gonna whip out a sword, but I was wrong. I was wrong, because he goes to, I think, I don't know how or when, but he's tipped off that the gang's meeting at some restaurant, so they show up there. I was like, wow, this is ballsy to just tip your hand to these guys you're supposed to be taking down, letting them know you're onto them. They're like having they're having some type of mob meeting, and he's like, yeah, I'm a cop. And the lawyer's there, and he's like, well, you're gonna have to talk through me, my client hasn't done anything wrong. And he's like, okay, whatever. And he starts hitting on, like, presumably like the main mobster has like a beautiful girlfriend. He starts hitting on her.
Yeah.
Who apparently
it's funny.
Yeah, and then just fucking one of the funniest scenes too is as he's leaving, he asks this waiter, the guy there, he's like, so what's her deal? Who is she? Oh, she owns the place. And he's like, oh, really? Well, her mom does. And then he's like, I just love this guy. I don't know why. He's like so emotive and out there, and he's like, so what's your name? And his name was he's like, oh, my name is Alfonso Rafael Federico Sebastian. This is my first name. And he's playing a pretty flamboyantly probably gay character, I am assuming. It seemed that way for sure.
That's what I assumed.
And then Frank asks him, so that's your first name, what's your last name? And then Samurai Joe or whatever was like, no, forget it, I don't care, let's get out of here. And then out in the parking lot, like, they follow it up like, oh, why didn't you want to know his fat last name? And he's like, I didn't want to read a damn book. Or something along those lines. And then
it was so confusing. I loved it though.
I was like, okay, whatever. And then well, just basically throughout this movie there are fight scenes that are just thrown in. Like, I don't know, like there was definitely one, I don't know where it even took place, but it was like maybe a club. I don't know how they got there, why they were there, what was going on, but they fought.
Yeah, it had to do with like some part of not the investigation, but
Yeah.
after they were chasing the guy or
So
whatever.
but in the parking lot, they got into another fight scene, which was hilarious because they're punching the dudes, handcuffing them left and right, handcuff. I wrote down like, action movies have this, flub of never counting their bullets, and I was like, oh, this movie has a flub of they don't count their handcuffs. Like, I don't think cops have 12 handcuffs to put on everyone. Like, they get like a couple at most.
Yeah, but like
they were handcuffing everyone.
Yeah, like, which was funny. I mean, certainly not what RoboCop would have done.
No,
blowing people's dicks off. Anyway.
And then this fight scene led to some guy actually taking out a katana, but Frank was, and like Joe was like gonna fight him hand to hand, and he's like, are you seriously gonna take him hand to hand? He has a sword. And then he was like, he just nods, yeah. And then Frank just blasts him. Frank just blasts him. And because another guy has a gun. So he takes the sword and then just slices the other dude with the gun's hand off.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And it's so fake too, because it's just like a plastic stub, and like when he's on the ground, you can see that his hand was just like tucked in. You can see like there's just a huge bulge with the thing popping out. And
I know they didn't make any kind of cast or anything.
No,
the director's just like, no, just put your hand in there. Like, yeah, that's good enough. Like,
yeah, and then the main hench guy that you know the name of, I keep forgetting.
Robert Zadar, yeah.
Yeah, he whips out like a submachine gun and just starts blasting. They get to cover.
They just start shooting his own guys.
Yeah, and then he just starts like it's some samurai or some mob code, I guess they mentioned, that's like, oh yeah, I can't leave anyone to talk or something. They can't, because they handcuff them all presumably to bring them in. So, but he chases them away. He could have easily just gotten his guy's back, but no, he just decides to start blasting them. Like, one guy was on the guy, I think, with the missing arm, who was gonna bleed out anyway. He just starts shooting him on the ground.
That was this.
And he has a grenade too that he blows up Frank's car with. That was, by the way, less of an explosion than that van explosion.
Yeah, that was stupid. Like,
it was mostly smoke.
They used all their pyrotechnics on the first one, I guess.
That first one, yep.
Yeah. Which wasn't even that good either. Like, actually, now that I think about it, that first van explosion, like, kind of looked lame. Like, well, part of the issue was that part of my issue was that the shot was out of focus. Like, I mean, this movie had a lot of shots that were out of focus, but like, it's like, why would you have that kind of shot be out of focus? I don't know, but whatever.
So I think even after that, because I just wrote down random fight scene, I think after that was the one I was talking about, where they were in some club, because it was like purple or pink lighting. I was like, what's happening here? There's just a fight that's happening. Okay,
it went on neon or whatever.
Just happened. There's a few just random fight scenes.
Nothing to write home about. The fight scenes in this movie were just just ridiculous. Like, I mean, I can't. Maybe I've seen worse fight scenes, but I can't recall.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think about it more. Like, but the fight scenes were pretty awkwardly staged, and there really wasn't a whole lot of movement in them even. Like,
no, and lots of wait. Because I'm gonna get to another part of it, but like that nurse scene where she's like, "Let's fuck her." I don't even know if it was that scene, but she was making fun of his dick size.
Yeah.
She was like, "Are you circumcised?" And he was like, "Yeah." Like, well, yeah. And she was like, "Well, I think your doctor cut off a little too much." And he's like, no, I have a good doctor. It's good size. It's above average. It'll get the job done. And then she's like just shutting him down. I don't know if it's this nurse scene or not, but it's a scene that's
I think
happened.
it was.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
think it was.
Yeah, and
I'm
then,
pretty sure because it kept on cutting to reaction shots of
Oh yeah.
and then Frank chimed in. He's like, "Hey, me," because this was kind of fairly racist towards him as
Yeah.
well. Because he's like,
Yeah.
I'm packing," and then she just kind of ignores him.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because there's a few racist scenes, like it's like they're just talking, just randomly saying, "I saved your black ass, charcoal black ass," and he's like, "Cause I'm black." Like,
Yeah, they didn't need to throw that in. Like, why do they keep pointing that out?
yeah, they say it a couple times.
Yeah, it's sort of strange. Like, yeah,
So,
it's a very bizarre script, actually. Now that the more I think about it, like,
so, all right. So eventually they're going to another boss. It's not the main bad boss. It's some bald
No.
fat. It's some bald fat boss guy who they find out where his headquarters is. And they bring like the main cops, which is, Frank, Joe, Peggy, and I forget his other name.
Yeah.
But he's around.
Yeah.
One line I was like, "Oh, Peggy, you're a slut." So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not the slut shame, but she was like, they were like waiting to give the go ahead, and she was like, "Hey, preacher, what are you doing later? You want to fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was written that way, so I like.
Yeah.
I guess
I think it was
but,
I'm pretty sure it was just a joke on her end because
yeah.
immediately after they start doing police work, but
Yeah.
like it was just the weirdest line. Like, "So hey, preach, what are you doing later? You want to fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah, like the jabs at humor felt sort of awkwardly placed, like because like outside of that, it was like a lot of like stilted action and yeah, but yeah, go on.
Okay, so yeah, so that scene they're breaking into I don't know, some mob guy's house. Not anyone I don't remember ever seeing in any of the previous scenes.
Right,
But
he's definitely shows up.
yeah, he's getting it on. He's getting it on with some lady.
Yeah, another awkwardly placed sex scene.
Yep, and they're like, this was funny. This was funny too. They're at like the screen because like his bedroom has like a sliding glass door. They look in and they see him fucking, and Frank was like, "Hey, let's let him have this last fuck." And
Yeah.
Joe, oh shit, I forget what Joe says to it. Like, he was like, "No." Joe's just like, "No." And then they see them get it tried because they can't open the door immediately. Like,
Yeah.
they had trouble opening the door. And then so the two couple were alerted. They're like, "Oh shit, cops, run!" And they eventually open the door and get in and start chasing down. And
Yeah,
it leads to fighting, chasing, fighting.
and an eventual shooting. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the guy he's pretty trigger happy, even though like they ultimately do the best job they can at abiding by the law and arresting people.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
but this main character has some problems. Like,
Mhm. So this is the fight scene where they eventually chase him down, and this mobster was like, "Let's fight like a man. Put your gun down," or whatever.
Yeah.
But, hand to hand. And this is the fight scene I mentioned, with the wig scene I mentioned earlier, where during the fight, I'm pretty sure it was a stunt guy, the wig comes off. They're like, because he grabbed his head and like was trying to do some move, but the wig straight up comes off. The wig just straight up comes off. You see like a short-haired dude, and then he was like, they slap it right back on. It wasn't even subtle.
Look at the next shot.
Like it wasn't like, because I a lot of the times when things you see like a boom mic, sometimes I always miss that shit unless it's real
Yeah.
obvious. But like this
Right.
one was right middle of frame, wig off, puts it right back on.
Oh my gosh.
Just like, oh, so this is a wig. But
I love seeing goofs like that in movies.
yeah, that they don't even bother. Like, it was so obvious. Like, wait, you're not
Yeah.
gonna take another take of this?
That was so funny. Oh my gosh.
Because it's not like
And-
it's complex choreography where they had to like say like, no, we have to use this one. We had to use that take. It was the best. No, no, you
Well,
didn't.
There was another movie where I saw a really funny goof. Like, it was either, I think it was like Dr. Butcher or like Zombie Holocaust or whatever it's called, something, where like a guy, like, he like commits suicide and the mannequin, like, it hits the ground and the arm flies off. And then in the next shot, he's like back on the ground, all in one piece. That's like one of my all-time favorite goofs.
That's
Like,
great.
Yeah.
So the next part I think that I wrote down at least is the bad guys they break into the cop HQ. But it was hired guns this time. They were like, we got to hire some guys from New York who racist. This movie is fairly racist. They're all black, black gangster looking guys.
Yeah, that's another strange choice.
Yeah, yeah, and it was so again another wig scene, I think, because it was the only time because they were looking over some evidence or footage. Samurai guy, he was like in a ponytail with a hat on. They were doing some footage stuff, and when because the mob guys kind of sit on this, not literally sit, but like babysit the receptionist to make sure she doesn't do anything, but she does slyly sound the alarm. And then,
by the way, it seemed like every time he was wearing that stupid hat, he was wearing the wig too. I think maybe the hat was trying to keep the wig on. Like,
yeah. Yep. So there's, I guess, a fight scene throughout the car. I think that's another fight scene.
Yeah, it's a really, really bad one.
Yeah, really bad. And it cut to, and then straight up after that scene, hard cut sex scene with main henchman and his bad girlfriend. You again know his name. I still don't.
Yeah, Robert Zadar.
Yeah, him and the girl that helped him cut the head off. They're having they're getting it on.
Yeah, they gotta have sex scenes with everybody in this movie. Everybody's gotta have a shot.
Yeah. And then he gets a call from the main mob boss that we know that something's going on. You have to go get rid of him. Whatever, go get rid of Samurai. And he's like, I'm on it. And okay, so earlier on he's flirting with the mob boss girlfriend, whatever the hell she was to him, but she was like, no, I don't really like him, but he I don't know where he meets her. He comes back later and is just asking her questions informally. She's like, oh, is this some police questioning? He's like, no, this is a social, I want to get to know you. He tries to ask her on dates, and she says, she turns him down completely. She says, like, I got a lot of work today. I work on Friday, which is the next day. And then he's like, Sunday it is. And she's like, no, I got to go to church on Sunday. So that was way earlier. Cut to where I am now in the story, which is he goes to the church on the Sunday, presumably. He and it's after the church because he like just makes up some bullshit excuse. Oh yeah, didn't you hear my sermon I gave? And she was like, no, no. And he was like, so let me give you a ride back home or whatever. And he just takes her to his house where he has a fully cooked meal ready to go, and it's her birthday too. She says, it's also my birthday. But So this is where the movie is like doing some fancy editing here. It's it's like Joe and her having this romantic little date on the beach, in the pool, eating dinner, and in between like each little date activity, it's cutting between. It cuts to like the mob guys hunting down the cops, the main cops. They first, I think they first go to that guy that Peggy asked to fuck. He's a married guy, I think about to get it on with his wife.
That's what I look like. Yeah.
Yeah, we see her tits.
Yeah, even though she's not even a character, really.
No.
We still, the film makes sure to prominently display her contributions, so to speak.
Yeah, they interrogate him, asking because they're really looking for Joe. And and he's like, I don't know, I swear, I don't know. And then he doesn't know because they kill his wife, shoot him, and I don't know if he dies or not. We don't see him for the rest of the movie, but we don't see his death on screen because he only got, I think, shot in the stomach, and he crawls over to his wife and just cries. And then I'm assuming he dies because we never see him again.
Yeah, he looks still alive in the last shot, but yeah, maybe he died.
Because it's also really hard to tell because that was the one time where they skimped on the blood budget.
Yeah,
they used it all on because they cut his wife's neck, so I'm assuming they used all that day's blood on her, and he just had some red food coloring on his shirt. This is like so
pretty much it was pretty bad.
Yeah, so after that it goes back to the date, and then it cuts to Frank and them. It does cut to Frank getting interrogated or broken into and interrogated as well. But of course Frank's a badass. He makes it out. He stabs a dude with a scissors because he distracts him by saying, oh, it's over there in the closet. I have his address. Like, he doesn't even say, like, I didn't understand what he meant or how the bad guys got this interpretation. Because he just says he's in the closet. And,
that was weird.
But they were going through like pockets, presumably to get like his address. And while he's doing that, that's a distraction for him because he's at gunpoint. He grabs. He just he has a pair of scissors handily laying around. I don't know if stabs him or gets him at knife point. It's a confusing little scene because he grabs his gun. He grabs the bad guy's gun and kills the other dude. I don't fucking know. He gets out of it.
Yeah, the fight choreography there was no choreography.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to call Joe up. He's like, but he's out on a date. He's like on the beach. He's in his pool. Like, so they're going swimming a lot. He has his own pool, but he's also on the beach, which is do beach houses have pools? Question. I don't know. Why would they?
It would seem kind of pointless.
Seems kind of defeating the point of having a beach house.
Yeah.
Have a pool, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not a real estate agent. I'm sorry, but that was like so.
It did seem like a questionable thing, though. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this movie had a lot of questionable things, but that was especially kind of like noteworthy. I felt, but just because it really didn't make any sense because they were like literally right there. Like,
yeah. And then they cut back to the bad guys going to Peggy, the female's house. So this was the more I guess the most hardcore, maybe in my opinion, disturbing-ish, but like still goofy as fuck because of the acting.
I mean, I still laughed at it. I must admit.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's cooking dinner. I don't know what she's cooking because she's really just heating up some oil, like a large pot of oil.
Yeah.
They break in, and they torture her by pouring the hot oil on her stomach. I honestly thought it was going to go a little darker and they were going to sexually assault her because of the position everyone was in. They like had their hands down. He was like right in her pelvis area. But I was like, what when they just started torture, I was like, oh, thank God they didn't start doing something.
I started getting scared.
I was like, oh no, don't do this.
Awful.
So I was relieved when they started pouring. I was relieved when they started pouring cooking oil on her.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's not good either, but like,
no,
still, it was like, yeah, I don't know.
And they don't show it at all. They show pouring. They don't.
Well, the acting is so bad that it makes it funny. Like that's because she's like going, ah!
And we don't really know where she's getting it poured on. I'm assuming stomach, but she was like wearing a shirt. I mean, it still probably would hurt a lot.
Yeah. Maybe they should have actually made some makeup effects. Had like her skin.
Would it be any good though?
Oh yeah, that's true. They would have spent their whole budget on it.
Yeah. I'm 100% sure why they didn't show it was because they couldn't. They didn't have the technical know-how to do it.
Yeah. That's true.
And I think she's the one that gives up Frank's actual location.
Right.
Because again, she did bang him, I'm assuming, in his actual house. So she's actually the only, besides Frank as well, but you know, he's his brother in arms. He's not going to give him up. And but she's a weak woman. She will, of course. So she gives up, where he is. But right. Yeah. And so just making sure that's how it happened.
That's pretty much it so far.
And then they finally bang Mr. Joe Samurai and what's her face. They're another sex scene, nice and dandy, having a good time. And finally Frank gets through because he's actually indoors instead of out on the beach / pool. So Mr. Joe picks up during the sex scene. He's like, yeah, what's up? And then Frank's like, they're after you, watch out, you got to get out of there right now. I can't explain it, except he did explain it, saying they're after him. You got to get out of there right now. And then he just lifts up the blinds and he's like, oh shit, they're here already. And just hangs up.
Funny.
And this leads to fighting, chasing, gunplay, real bad gunplay by this point. They spent all their money, I'm pretty sure, on the squibs, because by now people are getting shot and there's no blood.
Like it's barely even, it's like A-team level almost. Like, where you can see the people shooting. That's mostly it. Like
so they get away. Joe and his girlfriend, his now presumed girlfriend, and they go back to headquarters to meet the sergeant. And even before this, the sergeant was pissed off. It was some funny scene that I don't remember if Joe or Frank were there for it, but he was giving everyone in the room shit. He was like, get the fuck out of here, fuck you, shut the fuck Frankly, dear, I don't give it. I don't remember it having any context to the storyline at all.
It was just him swearing at them and telling them to get the fuck out.
But at this point they're back at the headquarters and the captain is actually like, he's like, you've given me a lot of shit, I should have you both fired by now, but I want them dead. I want you to, I don't care. Don't even bring them alive. Don't even bother. Kill them all. I want blood. He literally says, I want blood. Go to their headquarters, kill them all. And they're like, okay.
It's like they just want to get the plot over with.
At this point, they're just rushing through it. It's like, okay, there's no pretense with this cop. Like, it's generic.
They're just skipping whole script lines and segments at this point.
And so they get to the cop headquarters, and another stupid dumbass joke, but it worked, was Joe Samurai climbs the fence and Frank goes underneath, and I was like, uh, I asked like, why? What's the point of this? Why do you go under as well? And Joe actually asked, why'd you go under? I was like, oh, okay. He's asking the question I had. And Frank just he makes a joke because I'm an undercover cop.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Which I mean, again, it was cringe. Like, I mean, there's a lot of cringe in this movie. It's another one of those types of pictures.
Yeah. So they're in the
but
base.
I do like the jokes. I gotta admit,
some of the
reaction shots.
Some of the jokes were pretty funny, even though they were like dad joke kind of shit.
Yeah, I'd say this movie had like jokes that were like a step below dad jokes.
Yeah.
Like these would be samurai cop jokes. Like, just I don't know what other category they'd be in, but just like jokes that are just such a stretch of everything. Like undercover cop, like it's not even a joke. It's just like you like playing with words. Like it's I don't know.
Yeah. So
but still, whatever. I still laughed at it because I feel like the people, when they were saying the lines, they were saying them kind of like with a lot of gusto, and they were doing the best they could, some of them. But then some of them, it was like the stoicism or the stoicness of a lot of the actors was kind of probably the funniest part, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Just the delivery of being just like like a funny line just being like poorly acted was the funny part that made the actual line funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're in the actual main compound of the main bad guy we've been following. Fight scene, gunplay. And I should point out, by this point, I don't know, well, a few times throughout the movie, like the first time I did mention in the parking lot, Frank shoots a dude that draws a weapon on Samurai Joe that he's gonna hand to hand. I think it happens 3 times. He does it 3 times. He's just like, bang.
What I counted, yeah.
He was just like so funny too. It's just like Samurai Joe is about to do it. He's like, come on, let's see this. No, Frank was like, respectfully, the smarter decision, but like, I don't know if it happens in this particular thing, but like,
I think it did, yeah.
I think this was the last one where it happened, where I don't know, they're in there, gun things. Frank gets shot, but the bad guy does as well. And then Frank gets up and he's like, "Oh, he's not as smart as me because I was wearing a bulletproof vest." Ha ha ha. And and it's like, "Oh, you got him." Yeah, you sure got that little one-liner.
Very, very clever.
This movie, look, I don't know if I coined the term. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. Dumb liners.
Dumb liners.
One-liners that are bad and stupid.
Yeah, okay. Well, that describes
not good one-liners, because there's always good one-liners, but dumb liners. This movie's full of them, and that was one of them.
Actually, some of the shots in that scene kind of reminded me a little bit of Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Which I finally got the title right.
Or is it Stop or My Grandma Will Shoot?
It was that scene where he says stop or my mom will shoot. Like it was that scene that reminded me of the scene in this movie. Like
and then so they kill the main bad guy, but shit, there's more gunplay. The lady, then because all that's left is henchman. I'm just gonna call him henchman. I forget. I give up learning his name. His henchman.
They kept on repeating the actors, which I mean they do that in dozens of movies, but in this one it was particularly obvious.
Yeah,
a few
so
moments.
he's the final boss of this film, basically.
Yeah.
His hench lady gets killed again, real bad, no blood, gunshot, just kind of falls over. We're like, ah!
No. Yeah, it's another one of those like ballistic
And-
X versus Sever type thing.
All right, and they didn't even like. I also noticed they didn't even really try to do like any type of. I don't know if they had, because this is in '91. I don't know how much technology they had to do flash, muzzle flash, but you could tell they're shooting like fucking pop guns, basically. Like, because there were sound effects. I don't.
Yeah.
There was something coming out, maybe blanks, but they were still using a lot of sound effects. But anyway, off point. No blood at this point. No blood at all. People getting shot. Like there was a big guy that got shot like 3 times and then just falls down a hill. No blood at all.
Yeah. And it didn't even look convincing when he fell. Like it was just like a really, like you could tell they just wanted to get this movie over with at this point. They just wanted to finish filming it and be done.
Yeah.
Because like the guy didn't even, like the shot wasn't even like lined up correctly from where he was falling. Like, it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, he was like up against a tree and like just like, oh.
Yeah.
So there's this final sword showdown. So okay, this is actually one of the 3 times I think where Frank just pops the dude with the sword.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah,
because he picks up main henchman guy has a sword and he's like, you're a samurai, because this guy's also a samurai, I guess. Let's fight sword to sword. And I was just wondering, wait, where are you going to get the sword? And then where's Joe going to get the sword? I don't remember him having one ever. He picks it up off the dead guy that Frank shot. So he's going, okay, there you go, problem solved.
Yeah.
And they have some real bad choreography sword fighting of, all right, here's the samurai bit, let's see it, come on. Sucked ass.
It made 0 sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I wrote down, final sword versus sword showdown doesn't last long.
That was another thing. It was so fast. Like
come on.
Even feel like it felt like it didn't even need to, like, I mean, and of course I know that they're trying to kind of live up to the title, but like at that point, like if you're just gonna not even like have anything satisfying, it's like that movie Howling 7 New Moon Rising, where you spend the whole movie like staring at stock at like recycled footage from previous howling movies of werewolves, and then at the very end you get the shittiest looking transformation effect ever, and then the movie ends. Like it's like the whole movie. No thanks.
Yeah.
But oh well. In a way it kind of makes it funny though.
Yeah. So obviously Samurai Joe wins in the end, and they have the code of the Bushido. He was like, finish, like whatever, Zadar, did I get it right?
Robert Zadar. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Victory.
He loses and he is like, finish me off, code of the Bushido. And he like submits, gets on his hands and knees, presenting his head to be chopped off. And Samurai Joe was about to do it, but Frank was like, no, you're a cop, you can't do that. And I'm just like, what the fuck do you mean? You just murdered 20 people before this.
Yeah.
What's one more? Like one more. Like, you're just gonna let him go after you murdered the entire compound of bad guys and the main bad guy? Like, this is just his henchmen.
Yeah, that was the stupidest ending I've ever seen in my life.
And then the samurai guy, does it himself. He commits harikari. And like Frank was like, no, don't. He tries to stop him, and then Joe's like, no, this is he wants to die an honorable death. Let him. And he does. So he just commits harikari. And I'm pretty sure that's the end.
I think so. I don't.
Yeah.
It just kind of stops after that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think. Oh well, I mean, the last scene is him just on the beach with his girlfriend making out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. It's unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy ending for Mr. Samurai Joe.
Yeah, which I guess I can accept that. You know, it kind of felt like a movie that was like based on a video game that was never made. Like,
for good
structured
reason
like,
too.
yeah, like it was structured like a video game. Like the characters would like they would like go through like scenarios almost, and then plot, and then action, then plot, and then action. But it was just like, but the like the plot, it almost had the quality of like a video game cutscene. Like it was just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like one of those movies where it just doesn't feel like it's made by human beings, almost. You know.
I don't know.
To me, it felt like a shittier Andy Sedaris movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
a lot shittier.
Yeah. Yeah, and with fewer naked breasts. Although this film still had plenty of them.
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely fulfilled the nudity quotient, I would say. I guess if one has one. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, there was so I was just going over a little bit of my notes. There was this.
Yeah.
There was like, that first scene of the two mobs fighting.
Yeah.
I did write down because I thought it might come into play earlier because they were talking. Yeah, there's two lesser mobs that are teaming up to kill the katanas. They're helping us. They were called Shinjuku and Ginzu.
Okay.
They never show up. It's just all the cops. Where are these other little mobs that were supposed to help them? They never show up besides them explaining that there are other mobs trying to help them. Why did they even have that in there? Why have the mob war scene at all? I don't know. And there's also a few monologues that Joe goes on that are just hilarious. That is like, you're corrupting these.
Oh gosh.
You're a bad guy. You're corrupting the town. You're selling cocaine to kids.
Destroying the lives of innocent children.
And it's just, I think it's like this, he does it twice, the same monologue, like, and it's so straight faced but so poorly delivered, and I was just laughing.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's face was too serious.
And the lines were shitty.
Yeah. Pretty much. Like it was yeah, I mean it was oh man. It also kind of felt like the type of movie that would be on like after like 2 a.m. or something, like at night, like on like the USA Network or something like that. It kind of had that feel. Like,
I mean, you got to censor the boobs, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, aside from the censoring of the boobs, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the director was trying to do some world building with all the exposition involving all these gangs and all this other background and stuff that never even amounted to anything. I think he was trying to establish some kind of atmosphere or something, but it was just so clunky and cheap that it just didn't really ever quite feel real.
Yeah.
You know.
And I looked up
establish like that without fulfilling that kind of thing, you know. But yeah,
and I looked up the director too for I don't remember his name at all, for a couple of reasons. Was one, because I thought maybe it was Samurai Joe as the director as well, because it felt like one of those movies where, because his acting was shit, but he wanted to put himself in it to seem like a badass, make himself look like a badass, and he wanted to direct this badass movie of him being a badass. It wasn't.
Yeah.
He had, I looked him up a little bit because the other reason was because for our next picks, we'll get to a little bit, I wanted to choose another one of his movies.
Oh, excellent.
But this was actually his last film.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, because I wanted to do something a little later.
Yeah.
But this was his last film, and he also passed away in 2006, but he was making movies way back in the 60s and stuff. I don't think he's even an English director necessarily, because a lot of his films were foreign, not necessarily like, you know, like I think he was some kind of Asian descent, because I think that from the picture, at least, I don't really remember. I was just scrolling through fast. A lot of the titles were not English. And I almost still wanted to pick one. I looked at one that was an English one, obviously, but it was a 60s movie that I just was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so,
Okay.
so that's what I know about the director. I did some research on the director.
All right. I'm curious as to who the director is, like, because I kind of do want to know what country he's from, actually. Like,
I'm pretty sure he is some type of martial arts director.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
Okay.
Oh shit! Where does that go?
Oh yeah. Oh, it said his computer just reset himself. He just sent a message.
Okay.
Do not know what just happened.
No worries. No worries. All right. So I I went on. What did you guys think about it? Overall thoughts. Like, I'll give my. Do you want me to give my score first, or do you want to?
I guess. Yeah, if you want to give your score, go.
5 stars.
Excellent.
5 stars. Is it 4 or 5? 5 star. Whatever. 5 stars.
5 out of 5. Perfect.
Yes.
All right.
Loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Do you want to go next, Zach?
Sure. I gave it a 2.5. All right. I enjoyed it, but like the so bad it's good vibes that kind of wore off for me about halfway through.
I thought it went through the whole movie.
But like it did pick back up at the end.
It's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I definitely want to rewatch this.
I'm going to rewatch it many times throughout my life, I'm sure. I'm looking for the DVD right after we get off this.
Yeah.
If it's on Blu-ray, I'm fucking one day Amazon Priming that shit.
Yeah. Well, this is definitely the type of movie that I'd have to rate more for its entertainment value than I would because as a movie, like, I'm not gonna say it's like anything more than a 1, obviously, but but having said that, like, as far as entertainment value goes, like, it's definitely like up there. I would definitely rewatch this. I think I went in with the wrong expectations because, Samurai Cop. I was ready for some samurai action, and it ended up being very much not that. But I was entertained. I wasn't bored by any of it. I laughed pretty much at almost everything. I was mostly laughing at just the main character, and how silly he looked. Like, the guy, he can't even deliver like a convincing punch, let alone a line of dialogue. Like, in fact, I would actually say his punches, his dialogue look and sound more painful than his punches do. Like, and that's kind of astonishing. And it did lend itself a very fascinating quality that, it was such a train wreck. It was like the film was falling apart as it was going along, but I was so entertained and enthralled by it that I didn't even care. It was really pretty fun and entertaining. So I don't know. I don't know what score I would ultimately give it, like, personally, but like, I don't know, maybe 3, 4. I don't know.
I have to give it big because this is the movie that I was like, this is the movie that I want to see when we do these type of things. It's just
nice,
absurd. I don't know. It was just like the perfect kind of B action, stupid, funny, fucking so bad it's good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I had to give it 5. Like, honestly, almost from that first shot that I showed you right in the beginning, I was like, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's the hardest I ever laughed on any of these movies was from that shot. them on the steps. I was just like, wait, did they get Steve Carell in this? Like, because it looked like it was just Steve Carell with a wig on, doing like one of his office bit character things.
Yeah, I mean, when I
I
saw
laughed
the wig,
so hard.
yeah, I mean, that wig was shocking. I mean, I almost felt like I was gonna have a crisis of faith. I don't even have any faith, but I felt like I was gonna have a crisis of something. Like I
Yeah.
was just like, whoa. You know, and when I saw that and then I realized he was gonna be the main character, I was like, okay, I really have to like prepare myself now because this
Yeah.
is gonna be a shit show.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a bigger shit show than I expected. So
Oh yeah.
I
love
loved it. It was good. It was a good
Yeah.
movie, but it was definitely bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's Samurai Cop.
Yeah. And I think that just about does it, you know.
Yeah.
So it was quite a journey from Bigfoot's or Bigfoot's to gambling tickets to samurai cops.
I guess. Yeah, if you can call him that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
But that was the journey today. So and so that concludes our episode. And now we shall decide on what to watch next, which will be a grab bag selection. It
Yeah,
doesn't
free for
matter
all.
what- yeah, it's a free for all. So you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm choosing a movie that came out a couple of years ago from 2019 called Snatchers. I'm just curious to watch it. I don't know. Like, it just sounds,
I think I might have that one.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just curious about it. I don't know what it is. There's just something about the premise that I just can't help but wonder, like, where will this lead me? You know?
All right.
Want me to go?
Sure.
I chose Simply Irresistible.
Okay.
Heard of it?
Sounds familiar.
I may have seen the title.
Sarah Michelle Gellar's the the lead actress.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Well, do you know what year that came out?
99, I believe. 99.
Okay.
And the plot, I was like, I don't know. I like Buffy, so I was like, okay, it caught my eye with Sarah Michelle Gellar, but the but like the plot tagline, whatever, was what drew me in.
Uh-oh.
Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Sure.
I'm paraphrasing. She's some type of restaurant owner and meets a magical crab. All right.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board.
Yeah.
I'm doing a recent one as well. I'm gonna choose Ouija Shark.
What? Okay.
Ouija shark.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we've done a shark movie on the show yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Damn. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
There's so
speaking
many
of
of them.
shark- Yeah. Speaking of sharks, like that brings me back to the Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah.
There's some pretty hardcore shark kills in it. That's all I'm gonna say.
It
was-
was Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there's a way to tie it all together.
There we go.
We started off the show talking about the Suicide Squad, and then at some point on the show we talked about Stop or My Mom Will Shoot that has Sylvester Stallone in it, and now we've tied the two together.
With the shark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly, with the Ouija shark. Perfect.
Nice.
All right, cool. I'm looking forward to those. So I thought about choosing Dead Man's Curve. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that one.
I think so.
No.
Well, that's from the 90s, but I don't know. I think another one I'll just save, like the dozens of others.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, I guess until next time, have a good night. And yeah, that's all.
Yep. Have a good one.